These interviews in no way reflect the views of Arrayas Productions. This project is in no way endorsed by Arrayas Productions. As students in a continuous state of learning and frequency accretion, we each hold our own unique perspective of the teachings and how they relate to our individual experiences. It is important for viewers to remember that we are in fact self-sovereign beings with free will expression, and we each carry our own perceptual filters with potential for distortion. These interviews are intended to inspire and in no way should reflect upon Iesha, Arrayas Productions, or any of her work, as there is no affiliation. More information on the Alhambra Magistracy Council of Cosminius, the Melchizedek Cloister Emerald Order, Tantri Aura, Tantri Asia, and the Keylontic Science can be found in the provided links below.
Ya 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 na me da, ya na me da, oi. Yo na me da, hai. Yo na me da, hai ya na me da, ya na me da, oi. Yorna meda, hai. Yorna meda, hai. Yorna meda, hai. Yorna meda, hai ya na meda, ya na meda. Oi, Yorna meda, hai. Yorna meda, hai. Yorna meda, hai. Yorna meda.
We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution. We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution.
So I'll Find You Again, the title of the book. How did you pick the... Go ahead.
Yeah, among Ian, he is translating it. I sent him.
Oh, wow.
I translated it on DeepL. Just threw the Dutch text in it, and it came out in English. And he's now editing it more or less, or rewriting it in English.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Ian Parks. You know, it costs me to get a professional translator. Translating a book into professional English costs me about between 10,000 and 15,000 euro.
Oh my God, that's too much.
So I just searched someone who could do it volunteering, and I preferred actually a KSer who's up to date with material aviation techniques.
People you can trust.
And yeah, with all the body snatching going on, you know.
Yeah, people are turning on each other right now. It's crazy.
So, Ian Parks, he said like, I'm willing to help you out, and I'll pay him for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's translating it slowly on his free time into the English, every month a chapter or something like that. So he finished already the first part, so another KS are helping me out.
Got some good frequency with the editing too, that's awesome.
Yeah. I can't speak English, you know, it's high school English. It's not suitable to translate a book in English. I can manage myself in the English language, but that's it, you know. I can write a letter. these
Right.
kind of stuff. Do interviews. So yeah. So I made a PowerPoint about all kinds of stuff what my book is going about. I guess we can fill 1 or 2 hours already with it. And also, in the end, I'll explain my latest astral experiences. I got food enough to write a second book, you know.
I bet.
So the aim of my book, well, wait till you say yes, until I'll start talking when.
Just going to make a little bit more room here for the resolution.
Okay, listen up. I try to avoid as much as possible to use pictures from Araya's company, but like for example, the things that are like this, I used as much as possible
Okay.
references, and
Okay. That should be good.
but I try to avoid copyright issues.
Right.
Okay, of course, we talk a little bit about it, but in the meanwhile, I make some advertisement for her, and I
Yep.
tried. The only picture that I used from Qatar, from Asian material is this one. Let me have a look. This one, DNA and Consciousness. I started to search for holographic reality field or the observer, and nowadays with Google you end up with all kinds of artificial intelligence stuff, you know. I'll
Right.
show you just a minute here. It's amazing how that internet changed observer.
Yeah.
You know, the one who is watching and that quantum theory stuff. Here, then you end up with these kinds of stuff. How horrible doesn't that look?
Ugh.
You know, I was searching for it's all artificial intelligence stuff. Holographic reality field. Hey,
It's
give me a
taken over.
moment. Holographic. I wanted to look. All these things from the holographic virtual reality propaganda stuff. You know, that thing that they put on their head. Have you ever watched through it? I've never watched through it, but I know that obsessed crazy woman there. How is she called? But her artwork. That Fred Clinton's the female. That she also had with Bill Gates, one or the other, advertisement about these strange AI virtual reality things. So internet changed really a lot, and I thought like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what, we're gonna keep it with Aisha, her stuff, and if the rails reacts, we can always remove it. But
Yeah.
it still needs to be a chaos interview, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Well, can you start? Maybe you can start off with saying how you got the title, and what is the
Okay.
title again? It's I'll
Find
find
You
you again.
Yeah. So among Ian, it is I'll find you again. In Dutch, it would, if you translate it directly from the Dutch, you would say, I'll find you again. It's in the now, because when you go in out of body states, you can dive in the past and the future, but they're all now moments. You experience it like it is in the now. And so it comes from finding my reincarnated dogs, and also finding my dead dog in the astral when she had died. My
Right.
first OBE experience where
It's
I
one of
found
the first
her.
interviews, right?
Yeah, and that I promised myself when she died. Like I felt her with me on that snowy day, just after her cremation, and the days after, and the months after, and weeks. And I promised her that after her cremation, like, I'll find you again. You're not that far away. I can feel you. So it couldn't be that hard. So yeah, and I knew it was going to succeed. So yeah, and then I went in the out of body state, and then I found her again. Went through the tunnel, found my dog, and I was wondering, heck, where the hell am I? Where am I? You know, like, where the hell are these dead people and the dead deceased people? Deceased? How do you say that? Deceased people?
Mhm.
and then the whole story started. So yeah,
That's where the story started with your book. That's where you started.
more or less, yeah, more or
Okay.
less.
That's
Yeah,
interesting
I can.
because we already have a preface to it then with the interview because you went into detail about your reincarnated dog.
Yeah, there's still a follow-up that we still need to discuss,
Okay.
and then I promised. Just let's go quickly through the PowerPoints that I made
Yeah.
for today.
Yeah, let's do that.
So
Go
let
ahead
me
and
have a
start it
look.
off.
I'll put it on big.
Margot
So
says hi, and Samara says hi, and Peter posted a link on AI and stuff. I don't know if you can see the chat or anything, but they're all chiming
no,
in.
I can't. It's nice that some chaosers tune in. Thank you very
They've
much.
been waiting for this one.
Okay, really?
Yes. There's a
It's
buzz
gonna be
going.
interesting. Trust me. I got
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh, I feel it. I
stories.
know. It's coming.
So my background, for those who never heard of me, I've been involved in a shaman project to restore geomagnetic lines of the earth and to prevent earthquakes and volcano eruptions. And this is one of the shaman friends I held over from those times. But I've walked several paths. For example, also the Light Body Institute. I also dived into Kriya Yoga and all kinds of courses that I followed on my search to find how it all works and what resonated with me or not. And there were two independent, not related sources that I got resonation with, and it was the Monroe Institute and Areas Asia Oceana, her company. Now, just for the clarity, it are two different sources, and they're not related to each other. They're independent. They have nothing to do with each other. So just to make that clear, for if people never heard of them, they're not related. So the Monroe Institute teaches actually expanded consciousness states, out of body states, and with Monroe Institute you can visit the deceased persons or the beloveds, those you love. Like, for example, my dog, but I had my first out of body experience already before I went to the Monroe Institute in 2011 in Virginia, and I found already also a reincarnated version. But with this institute, I really it's very good training in expanded consciousness states, and I put you on a brainwave state, like for example 100 hertz here, 104 hertz here, and your brain makes 4 hertz of it, for example, and I put you in those specific brainwave states, so you learn with your brain. In the end, you can do it spontaneously if you follow through the years and of courses.
And this is listening to binaural sounds or like beats or
Hemisync, binaural hemisync beats.
like, is it music?
It's audio technology. It's built-in audio technology, and on the background, yeah, for example, waves of the sea, or an airplane means you're going to go in a higher, in a more expanded consciousness state. These kinds of things. And then there's another independent source, and that is what we do, Areas Productions. The company from Yesha Nadine, and that is actually the ascension path we're following. And this is one of her drawings, by the way, from Sanctuary Ireland, where they have taken us also, with very nice. But this is actually in the ascension path nowadays is in the internal reality fields. Or the plasma worlds. They are on another angular rotation of particle spin. And when you go, for example, out of your body with the Monroe Institute, or in those expanded consciousness states with the Monroe Institute, which is a total different organization, then you are with your consciousness in external reality fields. Those are made of sound and
I just
and
want to
light.
let me jump in real quick and put a plug in for Cathara on there when you brought up angular rotation particle spins. That information is contained in Cathara.
For example, just to give you a metaphor, suppose our atoms are turning like that. The other worlds are, for example, rotating like that or like that, on a different angle, to speak. So that's, as a metaphor, simplistic.
Shifting through
called.
dimensions and densities. All these terms are
Yes.
used in Cathara 1.
Yes, indeed. Now, in my book, I didn't go into detail like that on on these stuff because then you're overlapping a lot with Aisha, her teachings. But I did make a reference. In the teachings from Arias Productions, we also learned from the beloved, so higher parts of ourselves from the plasma world, that you have like for each 3 dimensions, which are scalar fields, also in your aura. It's called a density. So it's with 3 groups of 3 layers. And I just kept in
That's
my book.
harmonic universe, right?
Yes, it's one harmonic universe is one density, and it exists out of 3 dimensions in the teachings from Arias Productions.
Set of
But I
15.
didn't. Yes, indeed. But I didn't go into these kinds of extreme basic details to stay as much as possible away from copyright issues with the Asia material. So I
Right.
just mentioned the layers in auric field, scalar fields, layers, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, you know. So it's also followed like that in the Monroe Institute till layer 27 and higher. The reasons why I wrote the book, well, one of the TMI teachers, which is a friend of mine, he was insisting a bit like write down all your knowledge because I'm actually at this moment the only one who can combine the experience from both because I follow Asia material, but I also follow the Monroe Institute, or I have experience. And maybe others will go to the Monroe Institute and the Asia material, and otherwise from the Monroe Institute to the Asia material, who knows. But till now, I don't know any KS who also follows the Monroe Institute, and I don't know anyone at the Monroe Institute who also follows KS.
I think it's a perfect mixture and they complement each other well, personally.
Yeah, they do. They do. It's really, yeah, it was perfect combination. Yeah.
There's kind of a bridge there, actually. I think I almost see in the future, like stuff would really unfold nicely with this.
That's very possible. It's very possible. I know both of them are independent. They want to have nothing to do with each other, you know.
Yeah, right. That too.
Yeah,
Could be more
to
division
protect their
too.
own, yeah, to protect their own philosophy and so on, which I understand. But for me, really, it's a perfect combination. Yeah, also to notice differences or, yeah. Anyway, the books of Robert Monroe are not longer available in Dutch, so and the publisher asks quite a lot of money before, and you have to print a lot of books before and pay a lot of money before it can come out in the Dutch language again, and no one is willing to do that at this moment, so we better write our own book, so to speak, and people who have experiences, that's why the TMI instructor asked, like, write it down. And I also wanted to leave some footprints for sniffers concerning the ascension path. But then I was writing at that, like, heck ho, let me make a book with, you know, all basic information in it from these both. It started off like I'm gonna write a book about my OB experiences, but then I had something like, actually, it's a good opportunity, meanwhile, to give people hope on the ascension potential that is there, and to explain that too. Very basic, of course. So yeah, and the books of Robert Monroe were edited, by the way, by a publisher. I found out, but I didn't ask that to the Monroe Institute, so I'm not sure, but that he has copyright on it. And with I think his last book, Robert Monroe seems not to have was able to avoid that his book would get edited. So I don't know if I told that in one of the interviews. When you read the books of Robert Monroe very carefully, he also finds out that humanity is used as an energy battery. And he later on in the book, so in that book, the standing, he meets a light being that says like that earth there, that's our garden, and we seeded the human race, and with our emotions, that's our energy, something like that. I can't. I'm not gonna read it for you, but it was something like that. And later on, he finds out through one or the other being that being love and white light is actually the ultimate goal of humanity, of every human, and that is the most pure form of energy that they love and the most.
Could you summarize real
So,
quick a battery for what? Humanity was
like an energy battery for other consciousness forms that live out there and
for
that
other consciousness
pretend to
forms.
be our creators.
Would this, talking in KS terms, would this be fallen angelics?
Yes,
Batteries for fallen? Okay.
yes, indeed. Now, Robert Monroe was very aware that sometimes the encounters were ET versions of himself in the future, but in lots of cases it was not. So he was aware of that. And he did find out certain stuff that he wanted to publish that he was convinced that the humans needed to know, but that got edited out by the publisher. And you can notice it because, like I say to you, all of a sudden you come out to a page where they say like about white light being white light and love energy, that's the ultimate goal. And when you combine that with the story, you found out that we were used as energy batteries. It means you can conclude, due to that bad editing, that we should be love beings, because that is an energy that they love the most to eat or to feed themselves.
So his
It's
material was
a bad
getting
editing.
edited? Is that what you said?
His book got edited and edited in such a way that it doesn't match with uh,
Is there an
why would
original?
and yeah, wait, why would we call that a fallen angelic, but that are actually distorted consciousness forms out there in the astral? Why would they explain to someone like Robert Monroe, like, we created humans, we used them as for energy harvesting, and then you have to be the white light? Why would they do that? It's not. So when I went in 2011 to the Monroe Institute, someone who was working at that time at the Monroe Institute answered me like he was running ahead. It got edited, the book. He was running too much ahead for his time, and that's why the publisher decided to edit it.
Okay. When was it released? What
But
year?
oh, years ago, I think the books of Robert Monroe. He died already, but
Like
they're very
70s,
old.
80s?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Something like that.
It's too far
And
ahead of its
seemingly,
time.
it's something I found out through my contacts. He had a lot of arguments about this with the publisher, but the publisher didn't want to move, and he has some years copyright to go, that publisher. So there was also something in me that said like, let's keep it in my own hands, and will not go to a publisher. Also, not with the censorship going on, with the lockdown. I found out that a lot of people are. I got a background noise, Christopher. Christopher?
Yeah.
I have a background noise like a radio or something. Okay? So I found out from others, like with the lockdown, lots of people have written books, and till now, almost 98% got refused by publishers worldwide, and also here in my country as censorship. So I had something like, I'll do it on my own capital, and just own publish it. And then you don't have all these stuff, huh? And no one must edit things out in a way that it's not logical anymore. So yes, with the KS, the first KS interview we did, I talked about the reincarnation of my dogs and that I found them back. And there was one unsolved mystery I got warned. You remember I got warned when my dogs reincarnated with both my dogs, and I jumped in the car, I started looking for them, and I explained how I did that with my dowsing rods and stuff. And the problem got solved the year after the KS interview, somewhere in 2018, I guess it was. And also let you know at that time, it was during one of the Monroe courses, that all of a sudden my guides from my soul collective talked to me and said, like, we're gonna solve these stuff in the past, and we're gonna give energy balls. And there were moments that when I was with my dead dog in the past, they took pictures and transformed them in energy balls. So I dove back in the past to help myself, to warn myself that my dogs were back on the planet. So it
So
was
you have
me from the
premonitions. When
future
you say
helping
warnings, you
myself
mean
out in the past. I had already something when I
when you
got
say
warned.
warnings, you
Who's
mean like
warning me?
premonitions? You had like a premonition or something?
Yeah, this I've talked about it in my first interview with a warning from my first dog. It was all of a sudden in a dream state that I saw her running to me, like, "Mom, I'm coming back. I'm back." And I woke up immediately and I had something like, "Oh my God, she's back. I need to search for her." And I knew someone had warned, like, "Get out." I didn't hear voices, of course, but someone had warned me. And that were these picture energy balls. With my second dog, when she reincarnated, you know, I always gave that little bear, Igor, from Winnie the Pooh, that donkey.
Yeah, yeah.
I gave that teddy bear to her. So that's the symbol. And my guides took me to a moment where I was standing in a shop in the past, and it was going to fall, the same Igor beer. There were lots of them on top of those rows. And the only thing I need to do was trying to flow around myself, that it would fall on my head, but it was going to fall. And to warn me, like, I took that beer, it almost fell on my head, and I remembered my dog, and then I felt like she's back, she's back. So they chose that. They picked out that moment as a perfect moment to warn myself. So it was me from the future helping myself out in the past together with my soul collective. It's very special, huh? So that mystery now got solved too. So yeah.
I can put the
Anyway,
link to the interview also in the description. People can see all the
okay.
details.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Yeah, but you know, people who really want also to have those experiences and love their animals.
Yeah, it's
It
gotten
is
us
possible.
into it a lot with our cats and our dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
Just the awareness of that.
Of course, the soul and the animal itself needs to also agree in it, you know, because my dogs did. But that's also, of course, something important to notice. Not everything that we want happens. You're a bit too.
Yeah, it has to
Okay.
be mutual for sure. They have to want to
Yeah.
come back to.
Yeah. So, do poltergeists exist? That's also something that I covered in my book. So when you're in these expanded consciousness states, there are delta, theta, brainwave states, and when you go to sleep, you're also entering these states, and that's why in the morning or in the evening, when you're just going off to sleep, you can perceive deceased. You say people who are dead, deceased people. In English,
Yeah,
they say
deceased. Hmm.
deceased people who did not make the transit through the tunnel, and they are considered in books like poltergeists and these kinds of stuff. But with all these dead people, they just don't know how to go over and go through that tunnel, because you provoke it a bit with your consciousness by thinking of someone else who's there, and then all of a sudden that tunnel pops up and you get sucked in it. You let yourself be sucked in it. So majority of these what are called poltergeists are actually um, dead people really need help because they don't know what to do now. They try to pick up their life again and get contact with living people, and they don't succeed. And when you're in these brainwave states, just before you fall asleep or when you're waking up, you're in these expanded consciousness states, spontaneous, and you can perceive them sometimes if they are hanging around in your house or something like that, when you rent a new house or whatever. Not always, and not with every rent house, but I mean, I once rent a house and I found it just also dealing with a very simple dead person. And I found out through my house boss that he had died there. And they bought the house got sold, and I was the first one to rent the house, but he was still hanging around there also. So, but he left. Yeah, had a very good telepathic conversation with him. I didn't search him in the astral though, because they're very. I had something like, okay, he left. It's fine, and he'll manage himself over there.
So are you saying that the brain waves have to do with poltergeist activity? Like if you're tuned into a certain brain wave?
No, you can perceive the dead.
You can perceive it, okay.
In those expanded consciousness states, depending on which scalar field you're expanding in your auric field. But you are then on a brainwave state and expanding in your auric field that you can detect them. So they're just living in another scalar field. We'll come to that in a minute.
Okay.
So this is also just, I don't know who made this this drawing, but it's very good. You have those auric layers, you know, or scalar energy standing waves, and each layer is important. We call each layer a dimension. But what happens, this is also, for example, something I found from the internet. Scalar waves, standing waves are fluttering at the same place, you know?
And this is also Cathara 1 goes into this too in KS.
Yes, indeed. So the auric field has a lot of spherical standing waves, different wavelengths, and they keep hovering around your body, you know, they're in the same way. Sound, by the way, also has this. And we think that sound, it's actually a bubble of standing waves that propulses through the air, that floats through the air. So I know, and lots of people don't know that. So the graphics are actually like when you cut such a sound bubble and you watch it on a graphic.
Yeah, I always thought it was just like waves that just kept going, like some of the charts that they have of sound waves. You don't think bubbles like that. That's different.
It are standing.
It's like you're blowing bubbles when you're talking or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to think about that when I was making my PowerPoint, and I had something like, well, I'll just edit.
That's powerful. Yeah, that changes a lot.
Yeah. So, and these, what happens when you go in these expanded consciousness states, or what I perceive? I'll just quickly, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you clearly.
So, what happens is actually what the beloveds actually also say. So I expand when I go in those expanded consciousness states, and with the Monroe Institute I really can feel it very well. I expand with my consciousness in my auric field, and it's my movement, the movement of my consciousness through all these auric layers, which are scalar waves, standing waves, that creates the illusion of time and space, another holographic reality field. At the same time, I feel myself lifting up higher and higher, and I end up higher and higher above the earth, in the atmosphere, in certain layers in the atmosphere.
Can you actually see Earth? Can you look down and see it? Is it flat? Is it round? Or
well, the whole thing is, it is as you want to see it. Now, I never believed in the flat Earth theory, although I know KSers do. Not everyone, but I'll tell you why among me it is not true. Because if it would be a flat Earth, we would have now auric field in that egg shape. It would be flat.
It would be flat.
Layers of
Okay.
the auric field,
Right.
and you really can feel it's round.
Okay. So when you're
So-
floating above the atmosphere, looking down, what is your description that you see of Earth?
Well, the whole thing is, it are new worlds popping up there, and the deceased persons are living there in these holographic reality fields. But you
There's
feel
layers.
yourself hovering higher and higher. It's in the atmosphere you are. So the
Okay.
dead people, you know, like they always point out, like they went to heaven. And when you ask Indians, they point to the sky. It actually is true. You end up in in one of the atmospheric layers, but on another scalar, on a scalar standing wave, where you create your own holographic reality field, like matter. You know, matter is frozen light. So
I was
yeah,
gonna say
and
too, like chaos kind of expands into that as hibernation zones. Like there's unsafe areas too in our atmosphere.
yeah, indeed. No, I just kept it basic. Wait, let's look at the PowerPoint again. Let me enlarge that. So this is, for example, how that looks like. So I expand. For example, this is layer 25, and this is auric layer 27, and I expand till that level. And when I come back, I shrink. Well, my consciousness bubble shrinks till in this point, and it got lined out, and then then I'm back here in my body. You see, so it's actually more an expansion of your consciousness, and meanwhile you feel yourself a part of your spirit quantum lifting up.
Like in an orb.
We come to orbs in a minute.
Okay. Different subject.
Yeah, a bit different. So it happens on specific brainwave states, and we learned with Katara that with teachings of Arias, which is totally different, by the way, from the Monroe Institute, but I can combine the knowledge of the two. That we have two Katara grids, and that there is a body-planetary interface. So the Earth has a foundation, a Katara grid.
Can you minimize the bottom part a little so it fits in the screen, because it's kind of cut off at the bottom a little? If you can minimize the screen
like
share a little.
Is this better?
Yeah, that is
Should I
better.
do it
That's
like
better.
that? Just a second.
Or if you have another one.
Let me try it like this. So
You can take the whole screen
like
just to,
that,
yeah.
and like this. Better?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually on the stream it's still cut off, but we can continue.
And this, is this better?
Yeah, I can see the whole image with that.
Okay, then
Yeah,
I'll keep it
that's
like
good.
that. So these are all the auric layers, how I can detect and feel them. And for example, this is the bridge zone, layer 21. And then when you go further and expand further, you lift up higher, and you end up in a corresponding layer above the atmosphere, where you have these dead on a certain consciousness level living. And then in my book, I describe all these levels, these layers. So these are the layers where you have a lot of fearful people also in the traumatic loop is a layer after, nature people. This layer is more like how do you say that in English? People who are religious, but or convinced from certain stuff, and this is the most free layer you have, layer 27. But to come back to our point, when you lift up, the Earth has a foundation, what we call a Katara grid, and in your body you also have it. So this is a Katara grid, and you have a body planetary interface between your Katara grid and the Katara grid of the Earth, and that's why you lift up in these expanded consciousness states. And for people who want to know more about that Katara grid, I advise you to watch, to buy the Voyagers book from E.A. Shashayana. I described it in my book just as we have a foundation, like you have a foundation of a house, only our body house is built on it, and you have that on a bigger level too. planetary, galactic, where planets are structured in a grid. So thanks to Maya, no, who made this? You know her? It's the KSer.
Maya?
No, not
Was it
Maya.
Ari Risha?
Yeah, I think on Maya Ray. Something I don't know.
Okay.
But I asked her
Yeah, I'm not
today, and
familiar
it
with
was
that one. I
okay.
haven't seen that.
Yeah, she made it very beautiful. She made it very beautiful. So we have a connection with our planet. This is when you're alive. I just colored now in this drawing the auric field in black because I wanted to keep the just two colors, and your spirit energy is the yellow in the body. And when you die, you expand with your spirit energy on the corresponding layer in your auric field that resonates with your consciousness level. So that's how, and you hover around in that bubble of energy. And I also talk about my guides in my book. So I got a sort of a Shaolin monk that I've been in the past. So he has no hair, and he has often that suit on. And I don't know whether that's Japanese or something like that. I don't know, but I've
Looks
had a
like a
life like him.
samurai with the sword. That looks
Yeah,
like a samurai sword. I'm tuned into that also as a guide. Yeah.
yeah, but the samurai actually worked for the king. Were they also monk? I don't know.
I don't know. Could be factions or something.
Yeah, but it feels like Shaolin monk or something like
Kind of
that.
protectors, the martial
Yeah.
arts. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And I also have like a bushman um, in um, in my guides collective and my soul collective. So I talk about these stuff too, and the soul, like it exists out of all your previous versions that you've had. And when I go to that consciousness layer or auric layer 27, you have a healing center there, and your guides transform, and with me they often transform like birds. They're very natural. And they often, if not all the time, they are rotating my Merkaba fields, and because I know what kind of action I want to take, and they're gonna help me. But it feels like they're pulling the motor, and then I started to realize also that like Yesha and the bloods also tell you that the higher you go, the higher the rotation speed of the Merkabas. The top
Right.
Merkaba has to be, and it really is like that. When I'm in
Yeah.
the healing center, and when I go higher or higher, they spin me most often to the right with my top Merkaba, and to make a form constant like this, for example. It's just an art drawing, but these Merkaba vortexes, they melt to a sort of an energy egg, and that's like an elevator in which you lift up in the atmosphere.
Egg elevator. I like that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and you have those Merkaba fields in stargates, in also on a personal, planetary, galactic, universal level. And in Star Heaven, you have like white hole and black holes. They merge in a Merkaba way, and then you have also form constant, and it's also used to travel to other worlds. And in stargates too, and also in the plasma ascension stargates, the center is also a Merkaba form. So yeah, I was wondering, like the top Merkaba is electrical and the magnetic is the bottom Merkaba, and they spin counter rotating. Yeah. So I've also in the past followed the course of the Rinval Melchizedek, and he teaches is totally different, but he is inspired. So he's inspired by Anunnakis. And actually, with my experience in the astral plane, with my guides, it really is like Iesha Sheana Team tells. It are counter-rotating spirals. So that pop up in your auric field. For every auric layer, you have a Merkaba field, and then these counter-rotating vortexes pop up in it. So and I was wondering, like, because parallel Earth was going to fall. Wasn't it in 2012 that it got disconnected from our planet to avoid that we would also go into phantom fall?
Right.
I think it's a workshop, the Peru workshop on the website
Yeah,
from Arena, so you
Beirut.
can buy it.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was just wondering now, like that was antimatter vortex, and this was the matter vortex from our reality field here, and this was the one from a version in parallel Earth. I wonder whether it's now a plasma version or something like that. I have
Right.
no idea. Yeah.
So much
So,
bridging happening right now. Transmuting, transfiguring.
Indeed, indeed. So in Hinduism, you also have these Merkaba layers, but when you count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it means that it's just a representation of the 5 Merkabas in the first 5 auric layers, you know, and we have much more auric layers than 5. And you also the Merkaba, the David Star. So it's also known in the Jewish. So I found this on the internet. So shall I read it for those who are listening to the audio version? The word Merkaba is actually composed of 3 separate words here standing. Mer, which means light, Ka, which means spirit, and Ba, which means body. Put together, these 3 words connote the union of the spirits with the body surrounded by light. The symbol, which takes the shape of a star, is believed to be a divine vehicle made entirely of light and designed to transport or connect the spirit and body to higher realms. Ancient Jewish texts reveal that the word is also the Hebrew word for a chariot, and the Bible reveals that the word Merkaba itself is found in the Old Testament in total 44 times. To attain wisdom, one must first learn to be willing to accept it. Ignorance and apathy only serve to fixate one of their lies. The true Merkaba meaning will never be revealed to people those whose minds are plagued with disbelief. There we go. So it's known in several religions, the Merkaba stuff. Then the expanded consciousness states, I'll tell you honestly, because in religions and New Age, they're all telling you, oh, you should open your third eye and so on and so on. You know how far that goes? That when my third eye opens, it's layer 15. It's the layer where I do remote viewing on, and it's just around my body, a centimeter around my body. So you only have to expand till that level with your consciousness, and the third eye rolls open. You see, it's not, you don't even have to expand that far to go into the realm where the dead are. It's just around. So it's
In the
really
crown chakra,
exaggerated a lot.
is the crown chakra close also? Like third eye and then crown chakra?
No, with me it's I guess so. It's open to feel myself lifting up, so it goes very quickly. But maybe it also has to do with a coding, and I don't know. But it's really not a big issue actually. That happens spontaneously when you go in these expanded consciousness states, and with the Monroe Institute, I really can feel it very easily. And it's not a big thing. You don't even have to go to the realm of the dead. So yeah, I think it's a bit exaggerated in the New Age world. And okay, anyway. So I'll also talk about my experience with surgical intervention and anesthesia, and I had a sterilization of my dog done by a colleague. And yeah, thank God I had my guides to the floating Buddhas, who have, by the way, nothing to do with the Buddha. They're called like that because they're in a yogi position, originally seen by Iesha. But I work with them a lot. And they helped my dog. All of a sudden, I couldn't feel her anymore. I'd lost a natural connection on an energy level. So I called the floating Buddhas, and otherwise she might have died on their operation table. I don't know. But when you get a cocktail like sedative stuff, you go into these expanded consciousness states also. And that's why several people can see them go out of body and can see themselves lying on the operation table. But which kind of layer, I'll tell you honestly, it depends on the cocktail you get. How far do you expand? all these different products and sedative stuff and pre-anesthesia and the whole cocktail you get depends, and how you respond to it is very important for the consciousness level you reach, and there will be different individual differences and stuff. Now we also know the story of hemp. It's also a sedative drug. Actually, it's very healing plant. How do you say the medicinal plant? But it's good for
CBD?
people with cancer. Yeah, the CBD with people with cancer therapy and stuff. But CBD and what was the other THC
THC.
in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
That's the
also put in it.
psychoactive part.
Yeah. Okay. So these things also put you in expanded consciousness states on certain sub-frequency bands where you, for example, can see other creatures who also live here, like how do you call these things? We call that elementals.
Elementals. So
yeah.
Arrow, you don't feel that this is unsafe at all, like from your experience? Can you elaborate? As you know, a lot of chaosers feel that you're opening yourself up to DNA compaction, all these things.
But like I say, with cancer therapy, it's ideal for the healing part. But I'm also of the opinion that you shouldn't use this on a daily basis, neither on a weekly basis.
Right.
Because I've known people who used it several years continuously, and they ended up with fear attacks, and they're still taking medicines every day for the rest of their life to against fear attacks and these kinds of stuff.
I think mixing it also, like it might not mix with pharmaceutical prescriptions either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, depends what kind of pharmaceutical. Actually a lot of pharmaceuticals can be sedative too. So let's be honest. I think there is a limit to everything, and with extreme stuff, also with medicines, your cataract can also get damaged, not only by taking hallucinating plants or how do you say the puddles, mushrooms.
We talked about that, like in one of our interviews, psilocybin and the mushroom religions, these different things. Psychedelics.
And it will always be people who'll never get disconnected from the cataract. So it's
kind of what you're coded to, like what you carry, like the resonance of it, I guess.
Yeah, and also, what is also important with these stuff is that you eat meat and eggs, like for example, raw egg, then your liver detoxifies it very quickly, and you don't then have, of course, less sedative effect. But when you're, for example, a vegan, and they'll go deeper in sedative states also on the operation table, because the detoxification process, B12, vitamin B12, it also counterbalances neurotoxic reactions and helps detoxifying in the liver and protects the neurons. So, I'm quite sure that someone who eats on a daily basis a serious steak, a big steak, he'll need more sedative products on the operation table than someone else.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, to get him into sleep. But anyway, then, so my experience with the sterilization of my dog and how my guides helped me out in this, and her, is explained in my book. I also mentioned the products, but it's, of course, it's animal science. It's veterinary stuff, the products. It's not for humans. Then consciousness layer 21, it's actually the bridge shown to the realm of the dead, and it's this layer. I feel it like a big hard egg around me when I'm in that consciousness layer. It's my personal way of how I perceive it. And I explain all the different consciousness layers. I call it actually auric layers when you expanded it. Consciousness layer first after the dead realm is then where you meet people who are in fear, people who are hallucinating, taking drugs, People in coma. They're hovering around like this. And yeah, so you cannot make contact with them. They're like in a sort of a peaceful state, but they don't react. Their consciousness is locked up. And when they get disconnected from the coma and die, and disconnected from the machine, they go to the higher consciousness layers, and you can get contact with them again, and they respond again.
What is the middle picture of? I'm trying to make that out. Is that a woman in a gown or something? What is that?
Yeah, it's a picture I found on the internet from an art photographer, and I made a drawing of it. But it's a woman floating around, actually in water, and it looks a bit the same when you go in out of body state in this consciousness level. When I went to search in a hospital, for example, let me search for people who are in a coma. How do I perceive them? And I'd expected to see them laying in beds, but they were hanging around like in water,
Just floating
in the air.
kinda.
In the air. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very loose, like no, not stable, just floating around.
Yeah, and you cannot get any contact with them. They're hanging there very peacefully, though. Yeah, but their consciousness is like locked up. They don't respond. When you try to get in touch with them, send them telepathic messages, or they don't respond.
There's no connection there. It's a coherency, cognitive.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And then consciousness layer 23, I tell them in my book some experiences. So I once went with the last time at the Monroe Institute to that layer, and I ended up in tunnels with mine workers who died, and we afterward they were hanging around there searching for the exit already for some days or weeks, and they couldn't find it. And I just asked, like, think about someone you love, you died, and think about your grandma, so died, and go through that tunnel that pops up. And that worked. And then afterwards we started searching, like, who did we found who recently died in the mine accident or so. And we found them, who were Chinese coal mine accidents. So we found them, and they got into higher consciousness layers out of the traumatic loop.
You did some amazing work also. The Paradise Fires, that's actually where my uncle had passed on. And you made contact, and that what you passed on to my mom, it felt like it brought her some peace to know like what was happening in the afterlife, Just wanted to put a testament in there to that, to your work.
This was actually, thank you. This was actually the heaviest rescue mission that I've ever done, Christopher, believe it or not. That energy, we all know that it probably were directed energy weapons, but it went really through scalar fields, through dimensions.
It was so fast.
The energy there was horrible, really horrible. Like, I also went, like, for example, on a rescue mission to the bomb attack in Lebanon. And that's horrible, but the energies there was still better than here. Can you imagine? So this was the heaviest big rescue mission that I did till now in my life, in the out of body state. So I must also say, like, maybe out of body is it's more like maybe an illusion, because I really feel like the floating Buddhas, they also want me to stabilize myself a lot in my body, to stay here in my body, and I feel myself expanding in my consciousness.
Yeah,
with my consciousness,
I was going to say, you got to have some good grounding techniques to come back, and if you're doing that regularly anyway. So
it's not that I'm floating a lot out of it with a lot of my quantum, totally not. So I wonder whether it's not just also actually an illusion. And I get a lot of information, and I get a lot of contacts in the astral. They directly, the deceived ones directly recognize me, but my light body is still very, very good anchored in my physical body. So you can reach all that information and contact also without going in an extreme out of body state. It actually is more like an expanded consciousness state. So Yeah, just to point out, because people always want to go out of their body, but you can reach it too when you're very nicely um, anchored in your body and just expand a bit with your consciousness. Are you still there? Hello.
Yes, I'm here. Yep.
Okay. All right.
I can see you now.
Then,
Or yeah,
okay,
it
it's good.
flips back.
Then here is Consciousness Layer 24, where you have shamans and nature people and aboriginals, for example, they're also there. Consciousness Layer 25, this is the layer where the majority of the people is in with their consciousness. And you see that nowadays also with the brainwash from television and what is going on the planet, and that the majority of the people still believes the narrative. It's changing, but and how difficult it is to convince someone to watch in that material more careful. And it's almost impossible, huh? They'll have to wake up rudely.
So I see
But
like a bar crowd, and there's like a courtroom, there's
yeah,
construction, just daily life stuff, medicine,
indeed.
business,
So
corporate.
yeah, so the deceased people you meet there, they just go on with their life. They go to church, they work again, they have their beers, and they recreate their ordinary earthly life in that layer.
And this was mentioned in Sliders, actually. Sliders 1, the review planes,
Yeah,
where
I
Yesha
can't
was
remember.
connecting with her father that was, I think he was still at the bar, like just kept going after he died. And there's like
Ah,
a guardian team called the Way Showers that was offered for people to join, to become a way shower and like assist
okay.
loved ones that have passed on and help them get out of the review planes. That was Sliders 1.
Okay.
Yep.
Can't remember that story, but anyway. And then the consciousness layer is the majority of the people on this planet are actually in that consciousness layer. And it's very difficult when they're hooked onto that layer and that frequency to lift them up to a higher frequency. Now, consciousness layer 27 or auric layer 27, there is said that with mystical experiences you end up there, but I've had also mystical experiences on Stargate locations with the beloveds, and I had a feeling I went much, much further than that layer. But okay, will depend on how far you are taken, maybe. Anyway, then you have consciousness layer 27, where I reconstructed that hobbit house. I got my house over there. I'll never live in it, but I'll have a house over there. And the flamingos and the sea, and yeah, you create whatever you want to create, because it's a layer with very open-minded people and a very high consciousness level, and it's great to be there.
Can you say
Yeah, but
like consciousness layer 27, can you say like what density or dimension that is in KS?
among me is dimension 6 in KS.
So that would be like
Soul
oversoul,
level, high soul level.
soul
Highest
over,
part of
yeah,
soul
soul
level.
level.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. I think.
Close
We'll
to
come there.
oversoul, 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah. And then here we have also in that consciousness layer, that atmospheric layer around the earth, we have a healing center, an education center, a park to meet others.
Would you say that there's hospitals? Any hospitals there? Medical hospital type
Yeah, but
rehab
it's your
places?
guides who treat you there. It's the guides who give you the treatment, your own guides. And your soul collective, your guides, they move through, let me have a look at this one. They move through all these other layers, yeah, but they are mostly in your auric field on that layer, they have the most connection. They're more gathered like there, you know, in the atmosphere they gathered, but they can go lower and higher. But this is their gathering place. So that layer in the
So
atmosphere.
somebody that's having like repeat um, Maybe we can talk about this later off the recording, but I have a friend that's having like repeat dreams of being in this hospital type place where they're helping people and assisting. And
Oh,
it
it can
felt
be here.
it could
Yeah,
be
it
there.
can be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, guides who pretend to be doctors and these kinds of stuff to make you feel comfortable or more comfortable. Yeah, it's perfectly possible. Perfectly. And yeah, they have the sort of med beds, and definitely with those people who have more like a science fiction fantasy, they adapt their healing in a way that it suits you.
And again,
And
like,
you
would you
get
say
healing with
this, would this
I
be like
often get sort of
astral?
natural healing with birds and sounds and all kinds of. I feel myself in a very natural environment. The room becomes very natural and plants in it and these kinds of stuff. And then birds that come on my body and they massage my body with their how do you say that in wait the snavel.
This could be like an astral level, you think? What dimensions? Does
Oh,
this,
dimension 6.
this would be 6 also? Okay.
Yeah, the soul level. I met my soul collective. Till now I had guides who helped me out, but all of a sudden my soul collective popped up. So I was taken to a sort of a festivity where all kinds of people were sitting and eating, and I was allowed to join. And all of a sudden, it turned out that they were all my guides there. Not all, but the majority of them. And it was my soul collective who invited me. So it was a very special moment. You'll read it in my book. So it's very, very nice. Very nice. And on that level, I also have a version of myself as a yogi. Now, I searched for a yogi online, but I forgot his name. This yogi, but he looks a bit like my yogi version or yogi self in the astral plane, and that's why I used a very old picture of this man who died already years ago.
And you just tune into him, like his personality and everything, his whole life.
He is very silent, but when I'm with him, I almost have to force myself to ask something. He is so peaceful. You'll read some of the conversations in the book, but
Okay.
I come into a state where it's all okay. It's all okay, and I don't know, is he my Cosmaya twin? I don't know.
It's almost like
But
he's just meditating. You join him in meditation or something.
yeah, something like that. And yeah, I've met him in the past, also in the astral, that he popped up in front of me in the astral, and it was someone of the KSs had posted, like, we're gonna meet our twin in the astrological planets are standing this and that, and enjoy. But it happened with me already 1 or 2 days before, and I just knew that he belonged. I don't know, is he the alpha for my soul? I got a feeling like that. So he's on a higher level than my soul level. So yeah, and there I've met him a few times, that he just popped up and in front of me, and that I felt comfortable, and that he went out again, and that he used the opportunity to show, like, we're here, I'm here, and alone. But there, all of a sudden, I met this very special man, and turns out to be one of my own versions. But okay, this woman, you'll know her, eh? You interviewed her.
Yes, that's Yuna.
Yes,
Did an
Una.
interview. Yeah.
Yeah, I got her to layer 27, so she's now in that highest soul level, and I found her back in the astral plane. So she's doing fine now, and she has already contact now with her souls and her guides, and well, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. And then there's another chaoser, but Yuna, she was not up to date with the frequencies and the techniques of Yesha. She had
Right.
seen some things and done some things, but not everything. And there is a chaoser, which name I'll not say, but you'll know who I mean.
Yep.
and she wanted to stay anonymous, sort of. I started looking for her too, and she's not
Not
there.
traceable. That's interesting. That's what I get too, watching the videos. Every time it's like I can't watch that long, like there's nothing there. Kind of, it's just like something else is moving,
Really?
animating the body or something.
Well, I think she got hosted out.
Right.
It's clear. Otherwise, you're in that astral field. So she's in internal reality fields now, and so it's clear that the beloveds keep, for me, what I conclude, the beloveds keep their word. And when you are up to date with the frequencies and techniques, you get your hosting out. It's gonna be our last life, Chris, on this planet for a lot of chaosers, if not all. So yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know, like. Anyway, so in my book, I also travel in the past. I go to pick up my astrologer, who was a good friend of me in the past. And just so that you know, if you ever read the book, I retrieved him in a very different, a complex way, or not logical way, more like that. So it was in the morning that I picked him up when he popped up after his death in my glass house. And in the afternoon, I went picking him up on the day he died. So it's very ill. Normally you would say, like, why wouldn't you have jumped in the past to that moment first where he died, and then afterwards to this moment where he popped up in your glass house? But I did it different. But that worked too. I retrieved him twice. But it's you can do that when you go in out of body states, diving back in different parts in the past and different moments. It's just that, you know. Then I also talk about my encounters with unfortunately distorted consciousness forms. In my book, I call the fatally, the fatals, demonic beings, fatals. I didn't, on purpose, I didn't use Iesha terminology of the beloved terminology, because if an ordinary people reads it, they don't know the Anahazi terminology, you know. It has to be a name that everyone can understand.
Right.
So yeah. So you know, I've had several encounters, and of course the fatals, I talk about my experiences with them too. They can shapeshift, but this was one that I all of a sudden could see in front of me in my kitchen room some years, a long time ago. And she came out of the body of a chaoser who died.
It's like yellow eyes, glowing.
Yeah, I can't imitate these eyes. So I just asked an illustrator, like, can you make it a bit evil so that people know that it's a distorted consciousness form, but actually it's just a drawing, you see.
So let me ask you a question real quick. So whenever you've encountered these, are you pulling up frequency to protect yourself? And if so, like what kind of shielding or protection are you doing aside from the Buddhas?
Just connecting to my higher selves, and a lot of times to these yogis. But the problem is when you get attacked, you're in the middle of that battle.
You're in the middle already.
Thousands of tentacles, like needles, going through your body, and it's like you have to call for help and run to the telephone, so to speak, while someone is knocking on your face. So
right.
It's a metaphor, but it's definitely not that easy. But the fail-safe. I've had once an attack. And she attacked me from the back with all these needles, tentacles, going through my spine, and the first thing she wanted to do is rip out these plasma crystals from the failsafe. Yeah, and I was lucky that I had actually the help from the stealth one. She had shown herself a bit in front. I responded on someone in the chaos conversation in one of the chaos groups. It happened years ago, and we all knew that this chaoser
she had passed on.
Person. She passed on, but that was enough. Seemed to be enough for that fatally. to get out of her body and to come to pop in my holographic reality field.
Oh my God.
Now, I had already that impression. I saw her coming out also on the screen, but I sent to the stealth one a message like he also knows about these creatures, and in that middle of that attack where she wanted to pull out my plasma crystals, the stealth one helped me through the astral, and with very high frequencies, and she flew back. She gave up and flew back to that body of that, well, meanwhile deceased chaoser, but at that time she was still alive but very ill.
Well, let me ask you, what's the most protective frequencies that you feel are to work with right now for yourself?
I think, well, I work nowadays a lot with the floating Buddha still, because
Just the Buddhas. Okay. So,
I do the Crystal River prayer. What frequencies? Of course, when you do the Crystal River prayer, you contact also the Alhambras on the highest level.
are you doing hands-on like with the pink love or rainbow reservoirs frequencies, any of this?
Oh yeah, those two, of course. But when you call up help, these things you can do yourself. But when you call up help, it's when you ask really someone from the beloved to help you. Yeah. But till now, I wish the frequencies could go higher and higher. I'm really waiting till the Asia pops up again online.
The crystal caverns, we're still waiting for those to open.
Yeah.
It's been kind of on pause.
Yeah, let's hope that I expect actually against 2023, that will come
the timeline
directly
split.
Before the snap point and anchoring all the Christic frequencies. I expect that, and higher and higher. I expect that, but we'll see. So also talk about my experience with these tentacles, because I got attacked so much by ubis. I think these are, by the way, these the creatures that the Illuminati pray to, the ubis. And I got attacked seriously in the past, and then I got traumatized by these tentacles. And these tentacles, well, I explain it also in my book, they send in frequencies, they read out all your thoughts, your codes, and they try to manipulate you frequency-wise, that you go into mind chatter.
So these are ubis. They're actual, like race line, fallen race line. Ubis,
yeah, these
right?
tentacles. Yeah, the ubis. Is one of the fallen angelics, and the fake light. I would call it actually magical light, but it's fake light. It's stolen energy from everyone they cord into with their tentacles, and the people they suck out, so to speak, the energy from. They suck the energy from. But yeah, all
like
kinds
stolen
of
codes.
reptilians, Anunnakis, they also come through the fake grid in the body. You have the core grid, the Katara grid, but we also have a distorted part of it as the fake grid, I call it. And they come through that fake grid, through that phantom matrix, and just that's how they throw their tentacles through the body and cord in to others around you, and you get corded in by others around you, and then you end up in these ego conversations. I got it on a level. Read out data. It has to be data. I came on a level where I started to communicate with the creature behind the tentacles, and they really responded on it, like you pull a dog with a leash on the leash, like. Yeah, they really respond. So it's one of the energy harvesting methods that
it's
I
just puppeting
experienced.
other people, like almost like they're shells, and then they're used as puppets to get to other people and siphon and just start eating.
Yeah, but everyone has these distortions in his body and is suffering from cordings. It's our daily stuff, and we all have ego
Everybody
discussions
has
in life.
the tendencies to be corded and things.
Yeah, and it's because we have that part in ourselves, this sort of part of anatomy in ourselves that we still have to heal.
Yeah.
Which we're healing from.
We've all got the coding, right?
Yeah.
Metatronic
but all
coding.
these, mind chatter thoughts and the emotions, it's actually provoked by the fallen angelics by cording in. So the emotion, most of those hateful, frustration and these kinds of emotions, they're not from our nature.
Yes. Yeah.
Inside of us, we are peaceful beings. If this all wouldn't be there, and you know Barbara Brennan.
Yeah. Yeah. The aura
She
charts.
also, yeah, a very good book. She can see these tentacles, and she describes it also in her book. You can find pictures of it. She calls it. Let me have a look through pen and.
I didn't know she went into that. I thought she just did the aura pictures and charts and things.
No, she can see. I can feel them. She can see them, and she says like she sees them like connecting cords of light, and she says that's our connection with each other. But my experience is that they are tentacles. Yeah, she
Right.
sees them with everything, and because everyone has them,
Yeah.
she thinks it's normal, which
There's
is
no
also, of
sovereignty
course,
in that.
understandable.
You're just courting to people.
Yeah, it's
It's
energy
not organic.
vampires.
It's not natural. So you don't think, I mean, with close relationships that there would be healthy courting or no courting at all, you think?
Well, the first thing the floating Buddhas do when they give me healing is sending energies in my body that these tentacles almost burn and they retract. So with every healing, the first thing they do is decord me.
Okay.
So these tentacles are not organic. They really serve to harvest energy and to create emotions in you and mind chatter and all these stuff. And that's why with the healing of the floating Buddhas, they also go through all these different layers in the auric field afterwards and send in higher frequencies and set up right distortions to take out chips or implants, whatever you're walking around with. And it's you become so peaceful afterwards. It's just because also all these cords are out of your body. It's a relief.
So you believe we should really stay self-contained, like no cords, stay in our bubble, protective space, not have cords with anybody, like even close friends or relationships?
No, well, I wouldn't mind having, I don't mind having it's something we deal with every day, Christopher. Everyone, you meet another person and that person doesn't know that they have emotions and they throw out these tentacles and
sometimes you feel them like
things
with
of
people.
normal life here on this planet at least.
It's with new people that you're first meeting. Sometimes, like if they don't understand sovereignty to that extent, you'll feel their feelers or tentacles start poking at you, and then you're just like holding your space. You know, like
Yeah.
no. You know.
Yeah, well, it's important to hold your space and put your borders, like you can go that far but not further. But like the manipulative games between partners,
Yeah.
oh,
The courting.
you pay attention to me. It's courting. It's continuously courting. It are fallen angelics who plug into that body and throw out their tentacles and they play out these ego games and a lot of energy comes out of it and they harvest it.
So this is just our society. This is just how we live, like this.
Yeah. This is one part of the energy harvesting system, and somewhere in the auric field or in the chakras, they suck out these energies and then they live from it. Yeah.
They do it through us, our bodies and minds.
Yeah. And because I got so traumatized by all these astral attacks, like for example, that Ubi creature who was in that guru, he just took over bodies from people around me, and I was standing there with a high energy field and hypnotizing me. But these tentacles from this guy, can you imagine a guru, how many millions of people worldwide are praying to that, like with a saint. Yeah. So they're giving that creature
there's a lot of them out there.
Through that attachment. He was so strong in energy. His tentacles were like metal wires that you can see on construction sites to pull up parts of rocks or something like that. So I really got traumatized. My chakras, I heard it. And that's how I started to get a hypersensitivity for the cording. So yeah, but you got creatures too with very small, thin cordings. And for example, with these Phaetoli, they were like needles. These cordings, these tentacles. But okay, well. So I just described that also in my book, and this is how it goes with, for example, the Pan Pan Dance of the Earth in 2015. I experienced it like that. All of a sudden, everywhere core tentacles coming on. They see us in the astral, and they come through these bodies from other people. And you know, like if someone is away from you, they go out of that auric field, and here, out of the aura, they disappear, and with us here, it pops up in our energy field and in our auric field, and they plug in.
Now, can you explain the Pan Pan dance, what that is that you're referring to? Can you go into that much detail?
No, we'll keep that simple. It was a very big event on the planet where very high frequencies from the plasma reality fields came in, and where the Earth also got a huge ascension potential lift up. And it was huge in the grids. And how would you describe it? To keep in mind that more people who also follow not KS might see this interview.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, like, to get more, just some context to what that is, the Pan Pan.
Yeah, so it was a huge event on the planet, a very special event with a plasma ascension frequencies.
And how is that linked to these tentacles that you were saying? I'm trying to connect that.
Well, we got attacked like this, Chris, and I experienced it like this. I don't know if if others experienced it like this.
Kind of stirred up some stuff.
Yeah. We got seriously, and that plug in. So I called directly my floating Buddhas, and they started to send in through my crown chakra and in my auric field very high frequencies, so that the tentacles would loose, so retract.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, you felt the higher frequencies coming through the grids, and then they bursted through, so to speak. But just before that moment, our Elysian flame in our auric field popped up, and then all of a sudden, directly, all these tentacles retracted.
Oh, wow. So, that's like a visual of it right there.
Yeah, I describe it in my book. That's how I perceive these stuff. And yeah, but I'm quite sure lots of people from my shield got attacked like that.
Yeah.
And with these tentacles also, it's not only for energy harvesting, as the Asia and the Bloods also say, you have the core grid, Katara grid in you, and you're related with the planet also. And the females, there's the right ovary, and the sun is the left ovary, with female bodies. So when they try to disrupt that Katara grid in your body on moments that they want to disrupt the planet or the sun or whatever they are attacking.
I think with the male too, like the left side, the left testicle, maybe you're saying the right ovary in women. I think there's some manipulation or something that's happened on the left side of men also.
Yeah,
in
but
that
men
area.
also, but there are different organs. But it's not a testicle. It's
yeah, it's something else.
Yeah. Urinebladder. Urine. Isn't it this? Wait. The left and the right ureter.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think it's something like that.
Something.
Yeah. But anyway, so the beloveds and the benevolent consciousness forms want us to get healed, and through the teachings of Yesha, we found out how these things are actually possible. Although, I have to charge my battery a second. Although she never went into detail about these tentacles, which I do in my book because I talk from my own experience. She once mentioned the tentacles, that they are there in one of her workshops on a certain location where you could get a protection layer, but it had to be, and I remember it very well because I really could use it in these times when I watched that workshop. I forgot which workshop. But you had to be physical there, and then with certain energies from that Stargate location or spot, these energies were pulled over your body, and these tentacles couldn't penetrate it.
This sounds like the meiotic flush 2012, I think, the meiotic blood
Huh.
flush, but also there was things on our back linked to the Procyon, like this Procyon centipede thing that was on our spines, and it released all of that too. It was a really powerful activation. The Starlight transmissions, I believe it was August 2012.
Could be, but I got a feeling it was before 2012.
It's
It
before
was still,
2012.
yeah, before 2012. And it was in one phrase that she said, like, the tentacles cannot go. Because in other workshops, she never talks about these tentacles. Huh?
Okay.
It's so horrible. I don't think the beloved that she wants to expand on these stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with
She
with
said it's like Neo in the Matrix, like unplugging all these things that are linked to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, indeed. So in my book, I explained it how it works because, well, the Kaltar way, I want the whole truth to come out. And so that is the horrible part of the truth, that we are actually on a daily basis, all of the humans are confronted with, only some a bit heavier than others. Huh? But yeah, so then we have, then I talk about Arias Productions in my speech also. Let me have a look here. Oh yeah, this is a Peru workshop in 2012
Yeah.
where the parallel Earth got disconnected. So anyone who watches this and wants to see this, you can buy this on the website from Arias. Arias has nothing to do with the Monroe Institute. It's a total different, non-dependent organization, and the Monroe Institute has nothing to do with Arias Productions. So they're independent sources, not related. And oh, you remember this one, the Portal of Promise from the Beloveds, a set of stargates that opened up, and every year certain frequencies come in. So we're now 2021, and the Ayea frequencies come in.
Did
and I
that
felt
start? Oh, 2017 it started. I was thinking
Yeah.
2012, 2017.
Yeah.
That was KDDL's then.
I got certain frequencies from the Beloveds in Bali on the Stargate, and it's in the grid. It's in the grid, so it'll all be fine. So for till 2000 last year, we're running now the last year frequencies from Crystal Earth, love, gratitude, trust, mindfulness to
Yeah, those are
implement
very
and
relevant for sure.
Yeah, for KSers, it's nice to know to get remembered.
Yeah.
And these are the beloveds. So if anyone wonders, like, who are these benevolent consciousness forms, you can find them in the Crystal River Prayer that you can download on the website from Arias.
Those are all guardian names and councils, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the highest one are
Families. I look at the prayer too, like if you do it, there's going to be one of those families that's probably more dominant that you're resonating with, you know, that something's going to pop out in the prayer to you, one of those names, you know.
Yeah. By the way, I also recently have done one of the, I forgot which one. I think it was going to that healing temple, that healing pool on one of the islands in internal reality field where you get frequencies.
The Olesa pools, or probably after?
I think.
Yeah.
And I asked there to one of the beloveds to come with me as a ball of energy in my past and to help me out with certain protective frequencies in my past on certain moments. And she did, she, I think it was a she. Maybe it has no he she name, but it worked, and I started to realize, oh, I also had the beloveds in my past as helping me out and saving me in certain very, very dangerous moments in my life. So that's also possible, that you redo a journey of a Yesha material, and then you just use the opportunity there to talk with one of the beloveds, and they dive with you back into the past. Yeah. So the Bendy councils also have a lot of help from them. These are also good benevolent consciousness forms. It's totally new for a lot of people. You know, we hear a lot about the only famous one are, for example, the Sasquatch, and they also belong to the Christic Beloveds, the group. I'll talk about that in a minute. But these Bendis and the Ishanua, for example, the winged lions. My shaman friend, he has he claims he has been a bit abducted in Lyra, and they also have lion beings there without wings, he says. And they were very, very evil towards them. So it doesn't mean because they have wings that they're good or bad consciousness forms. In all kinds of races, you have wings. So with our beloveds, they have the wings, a guardian race. But just to point out that there's several race groups who have wings or who don't have wings, and you have lions who are good and benevolent, but you also have these lying beings who are not, who are distorted, let me say it this way, and who don't treat you that nice up there in the astral. Oh yeah, I can tell you that. That was 2 or 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago. Cordoba in Spain, and we were in Spain and we were visiting that city. And there is a palace and a mosque, and the Christians took it back years ago and they made a basilica of it. And we wanted to visit it. And it's one big reptilian nest below it, you know. So I walked in and I felt these creepy energies coming up till there. And you know, this is our illegal vigal sheet, huh? And I couldn't get higher, and then I called in the floating Buddhas for a healing protection field, because it all went very quick, of course, but that happens when you visit a lot of churches, and unexpectedly you can end up just above a reptilian nest or a draco nest. It really felt not good. But okay, they had detected me directly, and you feel the ticklish energies, how they try to infiltrate your body. But anyway, so I got a deal with the beloved floating Buddhas. Everything that tries to infiltrate my body, take it out. I don't want to take it out. They do. So years ago, with the fatally invasion, I had also spectacular help, and for example, from these floating Buddhas who look a bit like this, yeah, all these race groups, but also like Sasquatch. Those are more known by the Indians, native Indians. They also have contact with the Sasquatch, the beloveds. It may be these guys who did some
Kiwani.
work. Who knows? You know, in one of the workshops, Iesha tells like the beloveds asked to do some good work by another Christic group on the planet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably Christics who never heard of her work, but who are in contact, for example, with Sasquatch. It's very possible.
Do you think that there might be like parts of the Sasquatch colony or factions that may have got compromised also, or do you think that they're all pure, like all Sasquatch?
I don't know, because a lot of those benevolent groups admit that they have fallen subgroups also somewhere there that they hope to get healed and that they can reunite with. I don't know if Sasquatch has us too. I don't know.
It just feels ancient, like something's preserved and just something. There's real guardian feel I get from them. It's big out here in Colorado too. It's a lot of sightings.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they got their stickers all over the place. They got little statues, and they had a TV show I think close by out here also, like cable show. So it's pretty big.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know. They were so popular out there. And one of our ex-KSer friends who, after the shielded team split, went over to the Sasquatch Indians. He has a lot of contact with one of the Sasquatch, and these are, for example, frequency stuff in it. There's healing frequencies in it that I leave for him. This is a very rare picture of a Sasquatch who manifested himself one day, and then after the picture got shot, he demanifested himself. So the Indians, this guy has also written several books with conversations with the Sasquatch. They even leave messages, written messages for him. And you can also, yeah, special, huh?
That is. It'd be interesting to read that. What's
It's
the name of the
very
book?
You have to look it up on this website. Here, it's Psychic Sasquatch, the Sasquatch people.
I see Kawani.
Written by this person. I think he has his website, not anymore online, but that you can find these books also on Amazon.
Psychic Sasquatch.
Yeah, you can download them also on certain websites where it sells them for €1 or something like that. So, yeah, it's very interesting. And you also have the audio version of it, of his books, and that's on YouTube, just like that. So when you're in the car, you just can put that on and listen to them, to these what he wrote in these books and what the Sasquatch say. So, and in the history, you also have Sasquatch in our history where they got hunted by the Templars.
Yeah.
And they actually hide or run away in the astral field, and they still have they can still demanifest themselves. Yeah, what is Christic? Christic, it's the abbreviation for Karayasata Halada. Aren't that the first sounds when external reality got birthed? Something like that?
They're mainly like demonizing him. Looks like he's a big monster.
Yeah, in our history they do. But I was just talking about Christ. What is Christ? For me, it means organic. It are all the benevolent beings who
That's
are
what
not
I feel.
distorted and who claim for us, hope for us, and help us to get healed again from all limitations and distortions.
Yeah. I feel a lot of healing energy with them, like that they have to give humanity, but we're just not open to it yet.
Well, we are, but the rest, a lot of the
Yeah.
humanity isn't.
There's people hunting them, There's still people out there with guns and stuff.
Yeah, I got a quite spectacular story. I'll tell you that in a minute because it comes later. Just a second. So with our other Christics, the Green Knights, the Cathars, so the Templars who were Anunnaki inspired had a red cross, and seems that Christic who reincarnated in the Middle Ages had a green cross. And
Looks like an aura picture there. Kind of photograph. That cross looks like an aura picture almost or something. What kind of photography was that?
I have no idea. I just found
like
that
heat
book on the
signature.
internet. I think, oh, here we have the green knight, Qatar knight thing.
Do you see how it looks like it's thermal or something? Like the top right picture, it's kind of thermal looking, like heat.
This? Oh, you mean this? And that's
Yes.
an article. That's an article that I found. And it is standing, is this photo the first image of a light particle?
Light particle.
You cannot find the article again anymore, but certain scientists, here I'll read it for you. The image below, above in this case, is the first ever hologram of a single light particle captured in an image.
So is that linked to
the
Ruche or anything? Like some,
yeah.
This is creation
sure,
mechanics stuff that KS goes into also.
Yeah, it's the root, yeah. Anyway, it's nice to show on an interview now.
Yeah.
And then this was also a Christic guy. He never got crucified. He could escape in time. But it's interesting to know that Foresight Institute with Des Smith, Courtney Brown did a remote viewing on the crucifixion with Des Smith, a remote viewer, very famous, a good one. And they also found out that he escaped and he demanifested himself.
Well, somebody got crucified, right?
Yeah, it was someone who volunteered for that, and he wasn't really healthy in the head anymore.
He was like holographic insert stuff, shown visions by fallen groups, right?
Yeah, the
Revelations.
reviewer describes that person who eventually got crucified as a, how shall I call that, the local crazy man from the village,
Oh, okay, yeah.
something like that.
He was just having a lot of visions that were like artificially implanted or something. Is what
Yeah,
that's the KS thing on it.
yeah. So those who want to find out more about the crucifixion ruse, you can find things explained by the beloved and about this in the Voyager books from the Shoshana. By the way, Mark Gibbs, he also mentions in his books that it's known in the Quran, for example, that Jesus never got crucified. So the Christ is also a prophet in the Quran and for the Islam, and they know, and they're standing. And you should look at Mark Gibbs's book. I don't know which page he
He was
mentions it.
tuned into that already back when she was doing Voyagers 2. It's a really strong bond with them with that. They were both on the same line.
Okay, okay. Well, it's remarkable that there's some truth resistance in this book, and that they scratched it out in the Bible, you know. But anyway,
Right.
then we have a Dutch guy. His book is only in Dutch, not in English. He's called Hans Stolp, and he found out that on several paintings, it says there's a secret of two Jesus children. Now we know from the Voyager books that there were three avatars
Yeah.
that they talk about.
That's
in
been
certain
coming up
paintings.
lately too. I was going to ask you, do you recall the latest information on that of what's happened with the three babies with Yeshua 12 and all that?
No, I don't remember.
I
I know
know.
his mission here that she told in the Shield split, and it was very personal for KSers. And that was for me the most revealing about him coming.
And
But
he
I
is
don't
Alhumbra.
remember.
J12 is
Yeah,
Alhumbra also.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, but this is a book in Dutch about where you can find paintings. And this guy, Hans Stolp, he found out that there's several paintings with more than one Jesus child.
Oh,
So,
wow. It's incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Well, this would be
So,
like, I just keep wanting to bridge some KS themes that keep popping up, like the Nomi gene and the new material about the stealth shields and Jesus' descendants, right? There's a link
mhm.
with that, right? Like
Oh
all the
yeah.
different lines.
Oh yeah, now you say that, indeed. I didn't think about that. Indeed. It's very possible. Very good possible. Yeah. Okay, anyway, I don't focus on Jesus too much. It's very religious.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of
And you
overtones.
know, in the astral, when you're too religious, it's not a good thing. You know, you encounter the shapeshifters. They can take the form of Jesus and pop up in front of you.
The communication
So
can get distorted too, depending on who you're talking to about it. 'Cause there's a lot of filters and overlays on it.
yeah, and he did his mission here. He got out, and I just work with the beloveds, and I don't focus on Jesus to meet him in the astral, these kinds of things. I don't do that. It's
Right.
I leave the past for what it was. I think it's the most wise thing. Yeah. Just too much chance that a shapeshifter pops up, takes the form of Jesus,
Exactly.
and these
Yeah.
kinds of things. Yeah. So concerning the beloveds, they are breatharian, they have a higher energy field, and their energy flow is not stolen or cut off. They don't have to kill other consciousness forms like animals or plants to survive, and they don't have to work for money. So they can demanifest at any time. This is one of our chaos friends, and he also has contact with Sasquatch.
Real quick on the
And
breatharian. Sorry, I just wanted, while you had that slide up, real quick. So, do you believe that there's breatharians here? Do you think this is possible to do right now?
there are breatharians. You have
For
from the
extended amounts?
Yasmihins, people who follow the Yasmihina workshops, and there are breatharians on this planet. There is I bought a DVD recently of these people, but it's a minority. And
They have to take
what can I
breaks?
say? Say it again?
Do they have to take breaks? Is it just a temporary thing? Or
No,
how
it's
long do they
permanent.
do it?
It's permanent.
So they never
But you
eat.
should read these books of Jasmine. You should read these ones. But I think it's good when you can compensate the energy with, for example, yoga or something like that. Because I think it's at this moment in our evolution, it still is a very risky thing to do. But there are people who succeed in that.
There's the dry
There are
fast
good
movement.
techniques.
Also, people fasting, doing intermittent fastings. Also, it's
So
kind of some
maybe
bridges.
if it's situations going on, if we hide and when they lock our bank accounts, we'll have to learn how to become vegetarian.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a big setup here.
I think that, let me have a look. That movie I'm talking about is, in the beginning there was light or something like that. Let me have a look.
What, Hunger Games?
This is that movie. From the Brettarians who followed Yasmin
Oh,
work.
okay. In the beginning,
Light.
there was light.
In the beginning there was light. Yeah, it's very interesting to watch. So,
I'll have to check
yeah.
that out. That looks good.
Anyway, shall I continue?
Yes.
So one of our KS friends, he has contact a lot with the Sasquatch, and he has contact with those native Indians in America, and they once found in the snow a hair of a Sasquatch. They went to a veterinarian. It got sent to a lab, and they told her that it was from a bear, and afterwards he had black helicopters, mercenaries, so how do you say that in English? So walking around in that territory to hunt the Sasquatch.
He had some interesting pictures of with his horses that their manes
Yeah.
were braided, right? They
Yeah,
would leave little
it's this
trinkets and stuff. Oh, is the audio on? It looks like you have to start it over. The audio's off.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can add it afterwards.
Oh yeah, I'll add this excerpt later in production. Yeah,
I think we'll better do that, or you add
Yeah,
it in the end.
that's fine.
Because it's here in my country. It's getting late in the night, and my
Okay.
partner is sleeping, and
All right.
I'll wake him up. He'll be angry.
So, fellow beloved beings, this is now around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and the 3rd of January 2019. I'm standing here in the stable with the horses, our horses, Laya and Kashmir. Laya is the one you see over here. She is a full-blooded Arabian horse. It's a mare. She is absolutely gorgeous. Now she's a lovely horse. And the reason I want to show her to you is that she has got some visitors last night. And if you see over here, you see braided manes. And I don't know how they do it, but it's very interesting to see how they weave these things together and how they, yeah, it's not a normal one like we do, but I can't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you for watching these beautiful braided manes, braided by, I think, Yuri. So thank you, Yuri, for passing by, phasing in and out. Thank you.
Well, that's
This one is also a very interesting to watch. The Bigfoot alien connection revealed. Now, the only thing I dislike about this documentary, you can find it for free on YouTube, is that in the beginning they talk about the little grays, and then they start, so the distorted consciousness forms, and then afterwards they start to talk about Bigfoot, who are for me a race group of the beloveds, the benevolent consciousness forms. Maybe they did that on purpose to show the difference, but there is a fragment, and it's on 1 hour 32 minutes, where you see the Bigfoot in an orb form.
Oh, wow.
Moving
I think I'm
around.
hearing
Yeah.
Bigfoot right now. Like something in the background.
There are my dogs playing.
Oh, that's your dog. Okay.
Yeah, they're my dogs.
That's how I hear Bigfoot. It's like this low growl type thing.
They're hairy too.
Yeah. That sounded just like him though.
Oh, so
He's channeling. Your dog's channeling.
So God's channeling, who knows? Anyway, so the benevolent consciousness forms, they still have the capacity to demanifest their body and to manifest it. And when they demanifest, they look like orbs. This is a picture Ian Parks gave me from one of the grid activations and how much help we get from out of the astral plane from the beloveds. They're all there in orbed form, looking in. So
It's like
you
Sliders
flash away.
10. I think all the orb
Yeah.
pictures are everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody
So they
was
can
getting them too. It
manifest
wasn't
them.
just like a couple people. It's like everybody.
Oh, it's great. And they claim also that we used to were able to do this, and now we can't do this anymore due to all the disturbances and mutations in the planet and in our bodies. So actually we are a bit the exceptions. Huh? Not Christ or all those Christic consciousness forms in all the world. So the others can do that, but we cannot anymore. So we are the exceptions, so to speak.
I wonder if this is linked to Happy Bubble stuff and the bubble, ephemeral bubble that we're working with right now, like the orbing thing. There's got to be
That's
some
very-
connection to it.
It's very possible. Yeah. Now the first ones who can reach this state when they don't get killed on the road in their life will be in 28 years. I'm counting down the years, believe me now. And if we die
28
earlier, it
years.
will be a hosting out that we get, and also for these for the animals who choose for ascension.
Where's the 28 years coming from? What was that?
She once told that in one of the workshops that the last frequencies that will come in through the portal of promise, that are the freedom frequencies, and that will be in 30 years, and now we're 2 years further.
Oh my
So,
God. Wow.
yeah, yes. So, I mean,
Wonder what
all
year
these
she
were
said
all
that in.
frequencies.
It was recent.
I have been counting directly, like, man, in 30 years I will be 70.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking. Well,
Fucking old.
maybe. That's a big maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, well, if you die earlier, we'll have her hosting out. So, anyway, the transfiguration and transmutation. Transfiguration is also, by the way, there's a part of it mentioned in the Bible. I looked it up on Wikipedia, and geez, metamorphosis, also named as metamorphosis. In biblical context, it also occurs. So Jesus climbed the mountain and showed something of his divine nature by changing his form. The Hebrew Bible describes that God dwells in an inaccessible light that is deadly to unprotected mortals. The apostles could hardly look at Jesus' transformation and fell to the ground, startled, but suddenly the two Old Testament prophets were gone and everything was as before.
Where did you get this from? Where's this? Oh, you've got the
Wikipedia.
website on there?
No, it's on Wikipedia. I searched for it. On
Okay.
Wikipedia. Here, there's the link.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay.
that means,
Got it.
sorry, that means source. Source, here you go.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's still some fragments of the fact that he could demanifest his body in the Bible. Now, the body, we also know from quantum physics that particles are more like wave particles, sometimes wave, sometimes particle. So it's very good possible. And then I told you that I beware for in the astral for shapeshifters. Don't focus too much on those religious people. I don't do that in any way. The fallen angelics, they cannot demanifest themselves anymore because they got so distorted, and they hunt the eternal life. Here, this is also, I went to Swiss, when the Corona stuff broke out. I had the opportunity to go in that summer to Swiss to that Stargate in Interlaken. And I really did that because I felt like it might be one of the last chances in the following years to see your family again. And I should record something also for the other chaosers as a gift. And there the Stargate Keeper was also an orb form, and you have the hit the field. How do you call that? The heat wave around it, like a saucer, Merkaba saucer.
Okay.
And in this little movie that I made for everyone, you see the orb here, and it goes in front of this rock. And when you tune in and look very well, you can see the saucer form. Are you going? What I propose is that you implement it afterwards.
You can play it
Um,
now. It probably doesn't have
Yeah.
audio, right?
No, I did a Crystal River prayer, something like the Crystal River prayer.
Oh,
Just
okay.
a second.
And
I
I'll
connected
add it in
myself.
later. I'd just like to see it now too, though.
Okay, I will do it now.
Thou of Christ, in sancta declares, unia stata di, un et divi, unia stata di, uniturno ihadi, aresh dashai, uniturno ihadi, undarabisa eho, e cum sareas, unreas inamina, Christaisha aseta.
This is Interlaken, Lisa?
Yeah.
Aya, ita ura sea, un sea,
Did you get any sun
Messiah.
pictures there also?
un Christa ave.
No, it was very cloudy, and during the day I went doing a lot of activities. So I went there often in the evening. I just only went there for 4 days.
You did the hand gliding thing that jumps out of the plane type thing? or
Paragliding.
Paragliding.
Paragliding. Well, yeah, paragliding. That was lovely. There was a lot of action to experience there on that location, and sailing and all kinds of stuff they do over there. See the orb? There are a lot of
I think I
consciousness
missed
forms.
it.
but
Oh, I
was-
saw something on the right.
Yeah. Ah, it was lovely out there.
Oh, it's dancing. I see it. Yeah. It's dancing around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you got some
Ah.
activations out there, sounds like.
Oh, it's very good possible. It's very good possible. I feel when I rewatch this record, I feel them throwing in frequencies through the screen, healing frequencies for us. So, as a present for these times, for us to remind that they're still there. That's how I felt it, and that's also why I went there. I know everyone could use that in these times, some contact with the beloved.
Definitely.
Very that way.
Yeah, it feels like
Yeah.
it should be happening right now.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on. Otherwise, we don't get finished. So the frequencies, for those who never heard of Yesha, her material, they're passed on through what we call shields. Little groups of spirits, animals can be in it, humans can be in it, and they're coded to it, and then it expands through another shield. First in the stealth shield, then aqualine shield, and white blue shield, and then the green shield, and then the violet shield, and then it goes over the planet to everyone else. And yeah, that's just a quick catch up. And nowadays you have different Schumann frequencies, because all kinds of, as well the benevolent as the distorted consciousness forms, are throwing in frequencies, and you hook on to whatever frequencies you key to or resonate with. And
This
you
is linked to the
create more of these
solar
frequencies.
flares. Is the Schumann
I don't-
responsive to the solar flares, right?
I think so, but I'm not sure. To our brainwaves, yes.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
and vice versa. Our brainwaves to the Schumann frequencies also. I know that with harp, I think they can influence it also. These kinds of stuff. I assume also with these solar flares that it also has an influence. The Schumann frequency is a standing wave in the atmosphere.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of these healing frequencies are coming in through the sun.
Speaking of solar flares,
yeah, yeah. But they are not the solar flares that are the healing frequencies. These are the plasma frequencies
yeah,
that come through
yeah.
the sun. And we work also with codes that the beloveds give us. And this is a very beautiful picture Kayana once took. And recently, Gina Maria also posted that she saw these plasma frequencies coming out of the sun, and she was. I looked at part of that movie, but she really don't know what to think about it. Because she's no chaser.
Yeah, I saw you responding
No
there,
idea
trying to
what
tell her.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so the ascension path is healing of disruptions or mutations, and the rest. Yeah, you click on to what you resonate with, and there are sort of energy tubes around the planet, which we call the Niburian electrostatic transduction field, and they're also in the auric field, and that makes it so difficult for people nowadays to be free of mind. Most people still have these cannot how do you call that, go beyond these distorted fields in the auric layers, and
Like the mental
means that,
chatter, mind chatter.
yeah, the brainwashes. So they heavily
Yeah.
influence them by brainwash, and when you can go beyond these distortions, you don't have problems with the brainwash nowadays, and you're more free of mind. And
You feel
that's
that's
why a
linked
lot.
to, is that linked to 5G and chemtrails, all this stuff, like the whole
Hmm?
agendas?
Oh, it's very possible that they tune into these things too. It's very possible, yes. But this is among me. This is interscalar technology in
Okay.
another scalar field.
Feels like there's some bridging with that to our current technology, to some of it, like there's some attempt or something.
Yeah, you know these quantum computers. They also have graphene in them.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
That's
the
in the
graphene.
mass and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So there definitely is a
And we were
huge.
breathing that in, just, and the computers have it. Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so Andromeda and the Milky Way are already merging slowly. Will take still a long time, but it's just detected by some years ago by scientists. And we nowadays follow the new ascension path and the plasma frequencies. We pick them up with our plasma body. We are taken to the internal reality fields, which are called internal worlds. They're made out of plasma, and the external worlds, that's everything that you see when you walk outside the star heaven and the earth, and that's all external reality fields. It's made of light and sound. So that's when I go in out of body state, I take the light body, and when we do go with Reyes in the ascension zone, we take the plasma body. Yeah? So there are several plasma bodies, but in my book I kept it with the blue Trua body. And I didn't even call it the name Trua body, I just called it the blue plasma body. And then you transfer your consciousness in it. Then, so the healing goes in all levels, the Merkabah, DNA, or a plasma anatomy, genetic activations, nervous system, vascular brain, so it goes through a lot, and that auric field is extremely important. This is taken from the website from Areas. Just made a screenshot. But in the auric field, there you really are building up structures to reach these other worlds. It's amazing how important the auric field is. And this is something that the beloveds told in the past, like that we had to heal out of this. But if they would take us out of it. We would get spontaneous combusted. Yes. And now they're also saying we'll do rescue missions in these times. But
Shield
I have
pull,
no idea.
right?
I have no idea how they're gonna rescue all these people who got disconnected in their auric layer. We'll talk about that in
Oh,
a
that's a
minute.
different subject. Okay.
Yeah,
Evacuation.
but they can do a lot. And the past, suddenly there was red pulse, and all of humanity temporarily got transferred to another hologram. So I didn't notice that. So did you, Christopher? Did you
What
notice
was the
that?
dates again?
Oh, I forgot. It wasn't the times that the other two speakers were still there. It was
Oh, during
before
Sliders,
2000.
probably. Red Pulse, Messiah
No,
Hunter,
even
Red
before.
Pulse.
Yeah, in
Yeah, I
those
was just
times it
talking
was.
about that. That was Sliders 5.
Hmm.
I mean, to the extent that it could have been possible and external, I don't know, but it's like whole different levels now, you know, after 2012. So it's
Yeah,
almost not comparable to the frequency right now.
yeah. So I don't know how they're gonna do these rescue missions, but I promised them, and they can do a lot. For those who chose Ascension or the Ascension path and got boycotted in these times.
Well, I think even the way showing that you're doing is assisting in others, people that are studying these subjects, you know, wanting to assist on the ground here.
Yeah, I think it's the least I can do for humanity and those who are searching for the path. I wish I had met someone like myself 20 years ago when
Yeah,
I started the search.
exactly.
Yeah, you know, and it's just on a simple level that you still can see the trees through the forest. You know, what is it all is going about.
I know it.
Anyway, and this is a picture I took at the Vatican, by the way, when I went there in 2018. I didn't get any astral attacks at that time. Okay,
That's good.
so yeah, at that time. Maybe
It's
it has to do with
unusual.
my shield. Maybe it has to do with what was going on at that time in the grids, and that we were left alone, that they
That was
didn't
about three
attack
years
us.
ago, 4 years.
Yeah, something like
It's
no, it's yeah,
before
something like
COVID,
that.
2017 or something.
I think it was 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
But anyway, and so they still have, by the way, ceiling drawings of frescoes with Anu Elohim combating the reptilians, by the way.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, and everyone walked through. It were the hallways just before the Sixth Chapel.
It's
And
one
these
faction
used,
against another type thing. Fallen factions, right?
yes, yes. So the fighting gods in heaven, so to speak, because here are the burning houses, you know.
It's supposed to be portrayed as our history, and we're a part of it, right?
Mhm.
Part of these battles and all this.
Yeah, but if the fall of Lyra, those who want to read the whole story, you can go to the Voyagers books, but you can see them as neighbors in a street that we have somewhere, a street that goes up in heaven to the star system Lyra. They did experiments and tried to melt Galler fields and stuff, and they got in an argument, and a bomb went off, and a black hole existed, and then a sort of a fake foundation slided out of the core foundation as a distortion, and these beings became distorted because of that too, and built their worlds on it, and that is what we call the phantom matrix. And so with this year, and this is food for book 2, um, you know, Yesh also says like they bend you off when you go out of body into the phantom matrix. You remember her
Like
saying that in
you're
one of the
rerouted
workshops?
or something when you go to sleep, or
No, when you go out of body,
okay.
all of a sudden they bound you off to their actually fake foundation, as I call it.
Huh. Like my lab
And
type.
uh, I don't know. It's in one of the workshops where it's within Voyage. I think it's Mai Ricci. She has that excerpt You can refer to it in the end when you post this online,
Okay.
and we'll make a reference to it. But this year I went on the Monroe course, and it goes from layer 27, and then it jumps to auric layer 34. And what I noticed is an oval. Your auric field gets stretched out like an oval.
Like a
I've never
squash.
experienced
That's
that.
the Iyumbe lock, right? That's the squash compaction.
Oh yeah, now you say that. Indeed, I didn't think of that. Yeah,
That's all I
indeed.
see with that. It's just like it's put squashed down from both sides, you know? That's
Yeah,
what you feel in
yeah.
the body sometimes in that area, right below the belly button, right? It's like it's where compaction hits the most. There's like a gravitron effect or something there. I forget what the
Gosh,
Iyumbe lock is linked to, but it's galactic. It's like all around us, you know, compressing.
gosh. Yeah, so that is for me a sign that indeed it's a phantom matrix. It's not normal, you know, when we're taken by the beloveds to the internal plasma worlds, internal reality fields. It are totally different techniques. You don't have that. You don't have that.
Right.
Yeah. So,
So even to enter into those places, you got to take in a different anatomy, almost like you got to be squashed.
sort of, yeah, sort of. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. It happens spontaneous, huh? When they put you on these frequency bands.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Right.
Now, keep in mind, the Monroe Institute doesn't know from Aisha her work. They didn't spit it out. And
Yeah.
Robert Monroe, in these times, when he went out of body and discovered these places, he did neither, had no idea that the existence of a phantom matrix and stuff. Huh?
And he's
You
describing.
can. It is a total different group, totally not related with Aisha and the Beloveds. Huh?
There's so many
So.
bridges here. It's incredible.
Yeah, and when I went in layer 34, you're in the star heaven. So you have, when I go back, let me have a look to that slide from the Earth with the auric field around the atmosphere around it. Let me go up here. So I painted it white, yellow, yeah, because it looked nice with my drawing, yellow, but also because it is in the light and sound fields, you know, that these external reality fields are created. But when you go further, this is actually they made from um, the soul layers, yeah, soul matrix layers, as we call them in chaos terms. They
It's
made the
density
wheel of
2, 4, 5, and 6 dimensions.
Yes, yeah. They made the reincarnation wheel. It's called in religious terms like that. Now the Monroe Institute never described it like that, and because it's too biblical, they want it neutral. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's something I should mention. But
Gets
for me,
political.
yeah, for me personal, it's actually what in biblical time, the Bible is written as because you climb up in consciousness when you're dead, and when you're here, all of a sudden you meet your soul, and then the soul sends a spark of himself, it collects parts of himself. The soul collective sends that in and sends it down. And you get reborn. Okay, so
Well, you
and you
create a
know like
thread to the incarnation, also, the incarnate, with
say
the
it again. I
soul.
didn't understand.
You create a connection from those levels to the 3D and density 1. Is that
Yeah. The soul can reach you also, but you perceive it in. We talked about that in the first dog reincarnation interview.
okay?
But of
Yeah.
course, here in this layer, I'm at my soul collective, really on a personal level, face to face. All my versions of myself. Christopher, you never believe it, but I've had a life as a Mexican, and it was standing in front of me. I was a farmer. A life of a farmer with such a big head, you know, the sombrero, how do you call that?
Oh my God.
Yeah, like, gosh, have I had a Mexican
And
life
you're
too?
Austrian, right? You're,
I love the sun, and now I know why. I've
right.
lived lived several times, seemingly in a warm country. I've also been an African woman.
And you're connected
So
to some of these cultures, and now you know why. Like you saw your connections there.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But so with the Kriya Yoga, for example, which is also a totally different type of yoga that I also spitted through, and that we also talked about. They give you yoga techniques to lift up your energy, and it's so important to get out of that wheel of reincarnation. And that's just beyond actually the soul level. Now, where do you end up? So, with the Monroe Institute, which has nothing to do with Kriya Yoga, nothing, it's totally independent, okay? There you end up higher, out of this soul layers, and you are in heaven, in star heaven, between the stars. You're floating around between the stars. All these other layers that the beloveds talk us about, that are in the core foundation, the oversoul, the avatar matrix, the rishi auric layers, they're gone. They're not there anymore. You're floating here. So actually my drawing is not correct. It should be a drawing with stars and a dark sky.
So did this just
So,
recently change or something, or?
no, also in the books of Robert Monroe, you find out
Okay.
he all of a sudden
It's always
got
been that
higher
way,
than thousand.
but they're not
Yeah,
there.
it also. So I assume it's the Phantom Core Foundation where, and in that soul level, the auric. I also described it in my book like these auric layers, and where that deceased people and animals got divided in. It actually is based on two foundations. We still have the distorted foundations in our body, and we still are hooked on to the Katara core foundation. Okay, so this is what you perceive then.
Can you do a chart of this, like with the human body and the aura, the same way that you're doing it with the planet here, and showing the soul levels and all this?
Yeah, these are
Like Brennan
soul
was?
goes to in all these layers. They can even go higher. The soul, my soul collective at least, but it goes actually to layer 27, and then you have there are more layers there, but it's you're in star heaven. I think it was going that Monroe Institute found out that going till consciousness layer auric field 4, what they call 42. But starting from 27, you're in the stars. You're in the stars.
So you wouldn't be able to show like maybe a KS chart showing all the different density levels with
No.
this chart right here around the human body, like the auric field?
No.
Okay, it's just kind of random right now.
Yeah, and that was for me also a confirmation that probably Iesha and the beloveds are right. Somewhere when you go in these expanded consciousness states, all of a sudden they bend you off. And there's also
Security
in
clearance,
that,
right? Security stuff.
yeah. But also when you go, for example, let me have a look back in the drawings. When you go to layer 25, where the majority of people and religious people and stuff are in, actually the majority of spirits of humanity, you go through a tunnel. Okay? And here you don't have tunnels anymore. There are no tunnels anymore. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I found that too very interesting. Let me go back to my slide.
What do you make of
it
that?
felt
There's
like
no tunnels. Like, what do you get from that?
it really felt like the earth got stripped from its oversoul or its avatar and rishi levels on that fake foundation from the fallen angelics.
Okay.
I can't describe it
Makes
in a
sense.
different way, but, and that is a strange thing about it, I'll tell you that in a minute, but I picked up higher versions of myself who lived there and felt very good. I think it's because we pick up the healing frequencies, and via bioresonance, and non-locality, we heal our higher selves out there too. So, and they came with me to my soul level. I'll show you that slide in a minute.
Okay.
Now, that's something I want to say. And in the Greatest Love Story workshop from Asia from 2007, there was so much boycott going on all of a sudden. She says also that the Phantom Matrix cannot get saved anymore due to all boycott. I don't know if with the new Ascension plasmas whether that changed, but seeing how long Asia stays offline, I conclude that Phantom Fall is Phantom Fall.
No, wait a sec. There has been mention of all these different host shields being offered to like fall, gone fall, crystal fall, all these different falls that she went in explicit detail about. And I want to make
Yeah.
an excerpt on that because it was like, what? It's like, how can all this all of a sudden be hosted out? All these fall places? Like, she
I
did
asked
talk about that
I know,
recently.
I remember. I
It's
asked it
KDDL3.
also in I think the Nomi group was it, and in on your one of your KS groups, and actually no one could say it can be saved or not be saved.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, what to think of it, and so I based myself on what you said here.
I'm kind
The
of
context
seeing
is
it. I
very
mean,
clear.
there's going to be, if that's true, there's redemption stuff happening all around us, amnesty, contracts, everything. I mean, it would be across the board right now, and I feel that that's happening. Just seeing some of the, not to be judgmental, but some of the waves of people that come into these teachings, it's like, wow, like the levels of consciousness, and it's really getting out there right now. There's people coming in, like looking for this healing,
Yeah,
looking for
but these are
self-healing,
people
not
who
calling
resonate
on,
with the ascension frequencies. It really, nowadays, there's still a lot of sleepers.
oh
Among
yeah,
me, they'll get sleeping abductees, abductee to the Phantom Matrix, and I'll show you one of the things in a minute. Just give me the chance to finish my PowerPoint.
yeah,
One of my
sorry.
experiences in the astral plane, they're sucked through black holes. I'll explain it in a minute. So with
Okay.
Phantom Fall, she also tells that it comes down to frequency depletion. It's KDDL3 workshop, and that you have a fall in organic frequency or quantum accretion, and that you then shrink, and it goes about the auric field among me, in my experience, what I saw in the astral plane. You have progressive loss of quantum and of organic frequency spectrum, and eventually a disharmonious relationship with God source, and a problem with normal organic return. Now they work with black holes, we know that, and this is something worth to mention. There is a whistleblower from the Carnicom Institute. And I listened to one of his interviews. He wants to stay anonymous. I'm very curious who this man is. But they know this. Somewhere on the planet, they know about Phantom Matrix
I
from the
don't
fallen
doubt
galaxy.
it. I mean, CERN and HARP and all this stuff, like there's probably some core group that does know. Like completely
Yeah,
snatched, completely snatched.
yeah, yeah. And these guys did always research for Morgellon disease, that
Morgellons,
comes
yeah,
from the nanobots from chemtrails. He explains also
chemtrails.
very well the difference between all the different nanobots you have. From the chemtrails are different than from the vaccines and so on.
Like all of us have
Um,
it, right? All of us have this
yeah,
from the
yeah.
sprays. Yeah.
Now, what is he says the Phantom Matrix. He doesn't talk about Phantom Matrix, but he explains it like this. What they're doing, he says, if I remember well how he pronounced it, they have, he says, a simulation, an artificial simulation from the real world.
Right. Like an
And
overlay.
everyone has a phantom imprint over there. But we, in chaos terms, have always been known as the shadow
That's parallel.
version of
Parallel
itself.
Earth.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And what they want to do now, he says, is what actually comes down to the same thing that the beloved say, but only he said it in a more modern way, dragging the quantum to there.
Yeah, exactly. That's
And with these quantum computers, they can do that. And these vaccines, among me, I have my personal opinion.
even
So
just the
Morgana,
graphene thing in the computer and the mask that we're wearing, all this, like we're breathing that in, and they happen to have it in a supercomputer also. I mean, come on.
so yeah, and the graphene oxide that is also now coming out to the daylight thanks to scientists who talked on the Spanish news, La Quinta Columna online. You can find that. So the graphene oxide is mixed in everything. Now it melts with your tissue. They found it in swabs, vaccine, masks, but you can detox from it with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and glutathione, I guess it was. And but you should look. We post so many things about these stuff. It definitely will pass you. And I got also the references how to detox in my book and on my website. And you become synthetic biology. There's a woman, Celeste Solom, and she has given a lot of speeches about it, done a lot of research about it. But you can detox from that. That's already something.
And there's probably
But
frequency detox with the Illuminaire technique. I'll just throw that in there.
yes, I've also been thinking about it, like with all these nanobots. I don't
Yeah,
have a feeling they
air.
can hook me on to the brainwash. You know,
Yeah,
we override these frequencies.
we're breathing it in.
Yeah, and we override it in somewhere somehow.
Yeah,
So
vapor
yeah, and of
also.
course, that it serves for AI influence, controlling people's minds, and you know the whole story: the cloud, the Internet of Things, smart cities, the fall agenda. Now, this is the reference from this whistleblower of the Carnicom Institute. And you should listen to this interview then from minutes 11 till 17. He actually is talking about detoxing with borax, borium. I have no experience with that, I'll tell you honestly. But in this fragment from minute 11 till 17, he talks about the artificial real world simulation that they have. So it was astounding. How you say that for me when I heard it? Say, oh, they know about the Phantom Matrix.
It's like
They
the
know.
consciousness is here already.
They know.
Well,
by
she's
doing
saying that it's
research.
occupied. This is an occupied planet right now, so it makes sense.
Yeah. And so I did also some research about these quantum computers, and you also have the graphene in quantum computers, and what they can do is pulling together probability timelines with quantum computers and harvesting actually all kinds of spirits and energy stuff and
Right.
gold and silver and put that over to another timeline.
Even linked
And
to
matrix at their matrix.
wasn't some of
Their
this
world.
the origins of this linked to the Philadelphia experiment, Montauk, the time rip from the Zetas, right? That was the opening that they got in, right? The time
Who
rip.
told you that?
It's in Voy. It's in
Oh,
Voyagers, isn't it? It talks about the Zeta time rip thing. With the,
Oh yeah. Now
yeah,
you say
Philadelphia
that. Oh, yeah.
experiment, Montauk.
Yes.
So that was
Oh,
probably the
forgot.
opening that they were able to do from parallel to get in. The Zetas started with the
Oh.
Zetas, but now it's like the big guys. She keeps saying that they weren't even expecting these guys to come in through it.
Yeah.
Zetas were the
yeah.
little guys.
Yeah, they're still bigger than little grays, but anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me. I forgot. Anyway, so this is a story that we got from Yesha and the Bluffs, that the fallen angelics who run here the planet have, on the highest level, have noticed the infiltration all of a sudden from what we call the Fatally, what I call in my book the Fatals.
Yeah, they're getting scared.
So many people, that's my opinion about it. Many people were actually on the brink of awakening. Would take some years, but with bioresonance would happen. So that is a threat for them, for the fallen angelics. And I also believe, Yesha, that they accelerated the startup of the New World Order and the Phantom Trap plan. That they stopped the reincarnation wheel, lots of vaccination, infertility problems. People who got vaccinated don't get fertile anymore. And the risk of DNA that you get with the vaccine genetically modified is there, that risk. And by changing DNA, you can end up in another holographic reality field. So now in 2023, you have the split of the spirals, the Christic spiral and the distorted golden mean spiral. And in 2024, something will heal in the auric field because beloveds are going to take away these energy tubes. They told us. You remember with the last time she came online, Yesha? Beloveds had told us that they're gonna succeed to lift it up. and to save humanity, that humanity can become free of thinking, free of mind. But then for that phantom trap, you have all these nanobots. The fallen angelics are using 5G frequencies, maybe 6G and 7G is coming, you know, and that artificial intelligence, and that is actually already here on the internet. And what they try to do are attempts to disconnect the soul auric layers. And I'll show you what I see when I go in these higher consciousness states with people who are vaxxed. And
Okay.
there is a huge thing going on with body snatching.
Okay.
So I
Link to the
recently
vaccine.
showed. I don't know. I think it might be linked to the vaccine, but also I think, you know what I noticed when this whole craziness on this planet broke out in 2020? Um, I tried to warn people like colleagues from my work and so on, and you know they didn't react on my mails, but I could, when they read these mails and all the awake news, they really became angry, frustrated, a lot of hate in them, and they were thinking about me. And when you think about someone, the energy fields open. So you open that energy field, so I pick it up. We're getting, you two, all of us, we're getting more telepathic with the healing frequencies. We're getting hypersensitive. So I really can pick it up very well when someone is talking negative about me the last years, or when someone is and hate, it feels hate against me, or irritated or
Right.
frustrated.
Something being
And
transmitted there, broadcasted.
yeah, and you really, I had to lay down for 3 days after I sent a mail to colleagues to help them become awake. You know, like don't watch out with these stuff, and it's an abnormal agenda going on this planet. And here you have the first, like Mike Eden and Nobel Prize winner Luc Montagnier. They also warn humanity. Have a look at that. And there was such a bad, distorted metatronic energies catapulted from these bodies towards me. Ah! And then all of a sudden I gave up. I couldn't convince them. They never reacted on my emails neither, but just because of these energies that were reflected back to me, very, very poisonous, distorted energies. So they were hooked on it already on the fall path, I
I was
guess.
getting like physical symptoms when it would come up with people that were vaccinated and wearing the mask doing the taxi job. You know, I would start to get the air pressure would shift and I'd start getting headaches and cramps in my neck. And just, you
Really?
know, I'm not debating, I'm not arguing with them. They're just going on asking me if I'm vaxxed and how important it is, just like a religion or something, being
Yeah, it's
thrown in
oh,
my face, you know, it's just really direct.
oh boy. Yeah. Well, more and more people here are waking up, and the farmers where I come, I try to
Yeah.
warn them also. Only three listened and followed my advice, but all the rest did take that vaccine. And the first farmers popped up where the vaccine had went total loss, you know, where it failed, where they had heart cramps and all kinds of crazy stuff, and they said like, oh, we thought we were dying. But and then more and more people are coming up with vaccine injuries, and now they often ask me, but I don't bring it up anymore. They have to ask me,
Yeah.
like, say your opinion again, and we want to hear it again, and then I explain it, and then they don't shoot that distorted energies from their bodies to me anymore.
Yeah.
But when I start spontaneous to talk about, I have to watch out. Really have to watch out. Anyway, so there's a really shift going on. But more and more people are waking up, so the revolution is near, I guess.
I feel
It
that.
will take
I
some time,
feel it.
some rough moments
I
ahead.
think this coming year is going to be like a bridge year. 2023 is supposed to be the snap-off point from the Metatronic seed
Yeah,
atom. So that's big.
yeah, you can see it also as a an end point.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll
So
shut the
this was.
conversation down. A lot of it.
Say it again.
It'll shut a lot of the chatter and the conversations going on. Everybody will have already feels like they would have already made up their minds like where they're going after this year,
Yeah.
after 2022.
Yeah, it feels for me the same. Yeah, indeed. Now, you remember that moment where the beloveds, they seem to have asked everyone on the planet on an astral level, you want to ascend or not, years ago. And there's some, I think it is in the KDL too, that she talks about like that they are going to turn back time or something like that to ask for spirits in the past who wants to ascend and to check that.
I want to say
You
like
remember?
Sliders 8, sounds like. I'm not sure though.
I think it was in the KDL too. But I remember clearly a moment that I was years ago, I think 10 years ago or so, walking with my dog in on pasture between cows, and then all of a sudden I felt a very good presence, and it answered yes. I remember that moment, and afterwards, some years ago, when Yesha told like the screening everyone, I had something like, "Oh, that was that moment in the past," and I answered yes. But they knew already 10 years ago who wanted to go for ascension and who
Oh,
not, so
right.
to speak. Yeah.
Well, it was like 2008 or 2010 when the spirals separated, and then it's the outpicturing 8 years later type thing. So, because you remember the workshops of the dueling spirals? That was like 2010.
Oh,
Sliders 9, slider around that time.
yeah.
So there was
Yeah,
already the
yeah.
breakoff point that happened then, and now everything's outpicturing. So probably as far back as then, on some
That's
levels,
very
people already
possible.
made up their minds, you know?
Yeah, it's very good possible. Anyway, so yeah, this is from Carnival, a picture that I found online, but just to point out, like, they come in a human vehicle if they body snatch someone, and I really also know that you have to watch out because people can get body snatched, and definitely those who are really on the Metatronic side. It's really a matter of being aware, and you know, okay, so that you know him, Ian Kane. You know him?
Yeah, I do.
He lived here in Belgium as a lawyer, went to Canada, got married, and either recently ran away to Mexico, flew to Mexico,
Okay.
because in Canada it's going really rough with mandatory
Yeah,
vaccines, and they have a program ready to vaccinate every 3 months the population.
right.
And of course, our KS friends don't want their DNA, take the risk on DNA changes. And he also noticed that the more extreme it goes, they set up with frequencies the population against the people who are not vaxxed. And here in Belgium, they tried to do that recently also. So a sort of a hate campaign against the people who are skeptical
Yeah.
towards the vaccines, and at this moment still refuse these vaccines. And really,
Australia
some
is huge
people
on that.
would attack us. You really have to watch out till now. The Christix people here could point out to the media like, sorry, do we have to wear a Jewish star or something like that?
Right.
You know, like you're setting up a hate campaign towards us. And then they backed off again, the politicians, but they
Yeah.
really tried to set up people against
It's
us.
a tug of war. It's tug of war right now.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like. That's probably with the
yeah,
caverns that's outpicturing why they haven't opened. Feels like it's not quite grounded all the way yet
yeah.
for
Yeah, I
both
think
sides.
it's very wise to watch out with who you share information. You see what with my book. I also only share it in the more awake groups. Although in my Facebook account, I got people who bought, for example, a puppy with me, and they also will watch my interview and the advertisement in my book. But I really chose to keep it in the more awake groups for a reason, of course. Anyway, and yeah, this is with the stalking. You know, I told you that all of a sudden I had a stalker again, someone in my environment who lied a lot to me, and I threw them out of my life.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to meet you anymore. and he's completely possessed. He all of a sudden I felt like this for 3 weeks, something like that, in my auric field, one or the other. This comes from the movie Alien, by the way.
Yeah.
But he really wanted to kill me, and I was lucky at that moment. I still was doing taking samples for control on illegal hormones. So, and that's also on the border of Belgium and the Netherlands. So I had to drive a lot to get there, and it were long days. But he has 2 children in the house. He can't leave just like that. I had a feeling telepathically that that was my luck. Otherwise, he really would have killed me. And then after 3 or 4 weeks, that reptilian in him gave up and disappeared out of his body. But it can pop up any moment again, and he still hooks on to me. He smashed my windows. He stabbed my tires in the night.
Oh my
So
God.
it's very, very violent. Yes, I didn't expect it of him, that he would be possessed. And he got vaccinated in February, believe it or not. So
You saw
it is
some
because-
changes after the vax?
What?
Did you notice some changes after you got vaccinated? Is that what you're
So that's
saying?
the problem. He lied again about it to me. He said it was not vaxxed. But I
While you were
checked,
living with him?
No. It's not my partner I'm talking about. It was just like a friend where I had a lot of walks in the forest with the
Okay.
dogs. But he really lied about it because I was very, how do you say that, careful with the things coming out about the spike proteins that
Yeah.
the vax are shedding, and with the
Yeah,
transmission
yeah.
of these modified spike proteins.
I think I might have
So-
experienced some of that myself. It's hard to wrap my head around it. I haven't researched it that much, but I was doing taxi for a while, and something was shifting. Like when people would get in, and they were specifically talking about the vaccine, like it was a religion, and asking me if I had mine when I'm getting the booster, and just pounding me.
Yeah.
Just pounding.
They're obsessed by it.
They
And
are obsessed.
It's a fear politics that is being going on. It's their fear exponential, and you almost they become crazy. They're becoming completely crazy.
When it crosses the sovereignty of like your own free will and your choice, that's when it's getting dangerous for us. That's where invasion, I think, is happening, because there's like no
Yeah.
respect of free will anymore. It's out the window.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and they don't realize that they don't realize what is going on. That's the problem. It's really
No, they don't.
It's a frequency war. It's a consciousness war or battle. They're on a totally different consciousness level. And this guy, he agreed completely with me about my views on these vaccines, which actually, among me, I consider them as gene therapy. And yeah, well.
Well, you got
well,
Omicron coming out now. The dragon moss,
Yes.
all this, and linked with the bat. Like, there's got to be a link with that dragon moth and bat. Like,
I never believed in the
very
bats
similar
or-
stuff.
Never. There's so many animals, also dogs, walking around with innocent coronaviruses. I really am sure that. Well, you know the story about from Judy Mikovits. She claims that Fauci wanted to develop a corona bioweapon. Now, coronavirus seems to be easy to adapt, and that's why it's often used as to modify it. And he didn't get a permission in the U.S. And then he let it being performed, the corona bioweapon, in Wuhan.
Wuhan.
And yeah, and there somewhere it got released, or they released it. I think they released it. So the CIA or whoever was involved.
It's all over.
But it never got isolated. Not even one of that bioweapon coronavirus got isolated and properly among correct scientific protocol identified. All the whole genome sequence and the whole shell. So it still is possible that it are, for example, just modified spike proteins that they released with nanotechnology in it, and that they irradiated it with 5G, and that people died because of that, and that that was a trigger for the whole New World Order chaos.
Do you think that there's, I mean, since it's linked with this bat, do you believe that? Like it's linked with the bat? Like it's linked with the bat?
No,
No? What do you feel? Like it
no,
wasn't?
I just think they made something artificial in the lab, and
Okay.
seemingly they have put 18 subunits of HIV on it. That's what I found out about listening to articles, and also some prion, you know, from Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's called if you get infected with it, the mad cow disease. So the problem is, like in Australia, they had vaccinated people. They took blood of them, and they all were HIV positive. Now, at first, I had something like that can be temporary in the body, but if it turns out to be a permanent gene modification, you become actually like a sort of a bioweapon yourself, starting to produce all these spike proteins on all your cells. The biodistribution seems to be through all the body of the vaccine. So and then you have that shedding problem and these kinds of stuff. So I have to be very carefully with saying like it. The risk. I'll say it this way: the risk. What I heard from scientists is there that it leads to with these nucleic acids. We'll call it gene therapy, vaccines. That it leads to permanent gene modifications, so that you permanently become like a living bioweapon.
That's
with
like the Nazi
vaccine-
program, all this stuff. It's the same
Yeah.
encryption.
And the vaccines for coronavirus are actually now coming out in December on the Belgian market, and that's, for example, Novavax and the Chinese one, Sanofi.
The
I think
vaccines for
Russia-
what?
For coronavirus.
Oh, okay.
So what we've had till now, you can consider that as gene therapy. And the guy from Bayer, I'll show you. This is the first research that there is lowered fertility in the ones who got vaccinated. This is a picture from the beloved and Reyes Nadine, where she claims that the personal transaction sequence.
It's a radio
when you
body,
change-
right?
Yeah, this is auric field, the Merkabahs, and all these things are related to each other. You have the DNA here, the human, and your holographic reality field. So when you change the DNA, you get another hologram, and that influence can go into the core grid, the Cathara grid.
This is all Cathara 1, by the way.
Yes, indeed. So everyone ends up with his reality bubble, so to speak. Here, get trapped or die. So they really want to harvest our spirits to eat them and hurry up and get out of here because these fatally are here.
Yeah.
This is, for example, the guy who runs it here in Belgium as a top scientist, immunologist. He goes to court with everything that is told publicly about him, so I won't talk about him. But for example, one of the doctors in Belgium once made a funny remark about him, and he really became angry. You can see it in his eyes.
Man.
So the risk of permanent genetic modification, that you get AIDS or immunological distortions or antibody-dependent enhancement. It's a Dutch documentary. It's very good. It's from Valerian Awakes. It's a pity they don't have it in English.
Oh man,
But
you got to make a list of all these videos and just have them in the description too. These are really
I can
good.
send that to you. I can
Okay.
send it. But this is really, I posted it several times on my Facebook timeline in last year and this year. This is the best one I met, and it's made by scientists who know about the science behind all these things, and I want to stay anonymous. But these are really people I learned a lot from, and I'm very glad that that they posted in time all that information. And then we have recently had the president from Bayer, the CEO, who says like it actually was gene therapy, so they didn't.
Oh my
They
God.
told people it were vaccines, but he admits it was gene therapy, and they told it as vaccines because otherwise people wouldn't accept it.
Doesn't Bayer have Nazi roots also to the whole agenda?
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
alive and well during that time.
yeah, yeah. And then here we have the risk on autoimmune disease, and that it's starting with the vaccinated. And here also in Belgium, we see more and more people ending up in the clinic who are vaccinated and who get ill and reinfected by COVID and these kinds of stuff. In the UK, there are reports coming out that it's getting dramatic, that people are developing acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So immunological distortions, and in the end you end with total organ failure. So I'm curious how many people will survive that. And
Right.
this is from our Slovakian friend Ian, who is now run to Mexico, a nurse in a clinic in Slovenia. A whistleblower brought out that in certain vaccine vials there was even uranium added. Uranium, radioactive uranium. Here we go.
Jeez.
And this is, for example, one of the directors from a hospital here in Belgium who told that it's more and more vaxxed people are getting ill and ending up in the clinic. Also non-vaxxed, but rather vaxxed people, and he got taken from his position, and there we go. There's also something, maybe I should mention it, that I picked up from all the doctors who, as whistleblowers, came online. And a lot of them claim, like for example, Geert van Bossen, that the vaxxed ones become, how do you say that in English? Wait a minute. Just a second. Yeah, they become sprouts, germinators, germplasms for more resistant viruses.
Germinators.
Yeah. Geert van Bos, as far as I remember, he based himself on the first results from Israel. And also Israel is big panic at the moment.
So all this is being
Anyway.
disclosed like in real time while they're pulling off the agenda. The same time it's being disclosed. What they're doing.
Yeah.
This is wild.
It's like
man.
that.
This is
Yeah, and they go on. They go on. And now they're here in Belgium, they're talking about third vaccine. Of course,
It's
there
like
will
a
be
race.
fourth and a fifth. Yeah.
So who's gonna wake
It's
up?
like a race. Yes, indeed. Anyway, and this, I also asked I'll turn a radio show for the copyright permission. I got it for my book. This was in the beginning when they started to ask for volunteers for the vaccine or gene therapy experiments on humans. They did this on a small scale, and that this came everywhere in the news. One of the volunteers cried out like, "I can't feel God, my soul is dead, they've killed God." And it's now taken offline. I really had to search it, only hold to a radio show. It still has it, that article. But everyone took it offline.
It is getting like that. There's some articles even just from a year or two ago that are just, you can't find them.
Yep, indeed. So anyway, just to let, if you got the vaccine, by those who are watching this this how do you call it, interview, there will be rescue missions if you wanted to ascend. Okay. The problem is what I discovered. A half of their auric field got chopped off. It released. It came, and I had expected, because with all the astral attacks I've encountered, I've also been shipped on the astral plane, and the floating Buddhas took all these chips that look like stamps and like scalar wave imprints in my auric field. And these floating Buddhas, they helped. And one night they took it all out, but there were millions of these things. And I have had experiences. If I felt like targeted individual, they followed everything, my thoughts, everything, and they sent it to me like through these chips. Like electrocution shocks when I thought something that I didn't want. So you really don't want to know how I walked around. So I was so glad when this floating Buddhas took these ships out. There's in these, I started with the Asia material during all these astral attacks, and all of a sudden these floating Buddhas passed. and asked them, "Can you take it away?" And they took it immediately away. I don't know how they do that. Do they burn it out, or they must succeeded somewhere or somehow to undo these scalar patterns, stamp patterns in the auric field. But with those experiences, I also noticed in these attacks that if there's one thing they try to do, these extraterrestrials, is get you locked up in auric field, and even that. Sometimes it feels like try to rip me apart through these auric layers, ripping these auric layers, trying to rip them apart, or to let them dissolve or something like that. So it's one of the typical things that extraterrestrials who are evil try to do, messing up your auric field. And unfortunately, these are things that you can see in the astral plane, in these expanded consciousness states, and this woman also noticed it.
Do you think that after the Metatronic seed atom snap point thing, 2023, and this timeline split, there might be, like, the Guardians might have more interfaceable technologies to help people regrow and bioregenerate some of the distortions happening right now? Because right now we got trumpets. There's so much happening. Everything's getting sliced and diced. You can barely talk to people. I mean, it's getting bad. And she's saying it's from the trumpets and the checkerboard matrix, the J seals. All this is full tilt right now. But there's going to be a snap-off point that's happening with the Metatronic seed atom. So after that snaps off, it's like, okay, who's left? You know, what are we doing?
Yeah, it also depends on how much or how bad is the damage.
Yeah, exactly.
To rescue someone.
How much quantum?
Yeah, and it's a quantum matter, but also I'll tell. Let's go on, and then you'll understand what I mean. Let's go on to the slides. And,
okay.
We're running ahead on the slides.
Going past the 2 hours mark.
Oh fuck.
That's fine.
Okay.
No, I was expecting it. That's fine.
So what I've also noticed, large, huge parts of the auric field are gone. Okay, with the people who took these nucleic acid, what I call gene therapy, and I wonder, like, how long can you still survive? Because you have the prana, the chi, it runs through your meridians, interscalar, through all these scalar fields, these auric layers.
Rasha body, dark matter.
Yes, dark matter body. So all these structures, the Merkaba fields are gone. You can't hook on then anymore to these ascension frequencies. You can't make the Merkabas are gone.
So that would be the vertical ascension
Yeah.
path. It's not viable.
Yeah, so these rescue missions, I wonder where you're gonna be put into from holographic reality field in a way that you can get reconnected again with your soul, because they also have to transplant the soul.
You can see how they've done it in the
almost
past.
like a soul transplant or something like that they should have to perform, something like that. So it's gonna be very complicated.
The Guardians are like surgeons, like doctors, and they've done all this stuff in the past, like splicing and repairing timelines and stuff. So I don't see why that would just stop, though, after this timeline split.
Maybe it's just a scientist in me who wants to know, like, oh my God, I wouldn't want to be the one who would have to start with such an operation.
No, right? It's very precision surgery there.
I'm very curious how they're gonna do that. And then something also noticed, it's not growing anymore. Till now, I haven't seen it. I don't know if it can grow again, the auric field. Look, in the epigenetics, they also say, like, we are not a code. We can override the code. We are the writers of the code, something like that. So I talked with other healers about this. These are things from the internet that I picked up. People who also noticed that the top chakras above the body and below the body are not there anymore, and that the crown chakra is closing. There's also a Dutch healer, acupuncturist, if I remember well, who also says, like, the soul is thrown out of the body, but he means actually the spirit energy or something like that. And there's no it's a lowering in frequency, and he is very brave in exposing that. Then the energy snap point, we talked about that. It's going to be in 2023. People become free of mind, and this is something Yesh and the Bloods told us. And in 2024 will be a mondial wake up. In 2028, spiritual will wake up. So hold on, stay alive, because things are going to go better in the Christic timeline. And what is there in 2023? They've planned a cryptocurrency system. You know that you are not dealing with cash money anymore, digital money, but with cryptocurrencies. And they're even talking about giving you a salary where you have to consume it, or there is a date on it when it's not when you can't buy things with it anymore.
Jeez.
A maturity date,
Yeah.
so expiration date.
They're doing
your
some of that
cryptos.
already. Yeah.
So you're forced to consume.
Right. Like your data, it doesn't roll
Yeah.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't put money aside anymore to hide or to run or whatever. And if you don't consume it, it gets expired, your cryptos. So these kinds of crazy things they are planning. What happens then in 23 with that snap point when the spirals split in 2023? It's the end of the medical experiment. Will they make it mandatory or not? There's no long-term research. It never happened. So they all claim it was safe, but they never did long-term research. So I hope that can be an argument from our side from everywhere in the world, the more away people, to make this craziness stop. And then in 2025, so there are several timelines and information coming in. Believe it or not, they have already a script, the spores pandemic. Now, whether it's written out, you can find it on the website of John Hopkins. Whether they're gonna pull it out like they did with the Corona stuff, we'll see. Maybe it stays locked up as a script, and they'll never come out. But I guess it's more something that will come out in the fall timeline, not in the Christic timeline. And then how moving on? I think that the beloveds don't want to let the fallen angelics watch in their cards. And we have been dealing with these infiltrations from these fatally inner groups, and there are a lot of people reversing them in their codings, but they're still present and they're watching through all these bodies. So I think that is one of the reasons also that till now Yesh has asked not yet to come online, and maybe in the astral there's a huge war going on that I still want to have solved out before giving any information to us.
Well, I streamed some of the older workshops, and she candidly mentioned sometimes about how there's representatives from some of the three-letter organizations that attend the workshops specifically to get information on the latest stuff. So I mean, it would make sense that, okay, it's hush time right now, everybody's got to do the math for themselves, and it's too dangerous to put something out there that's going to get sliced and diced and spewed all over the internet, misconstrued, which is already happening with some of the work. And a lot of us have to hold a space for the teachings itself, a clear space so it doesn't get misconstrued. So it makes sense why she's not coming on to me when it comes to that.
Well, me too. I think it's a wise decision. Anyway, concerning guides and floating Buddhas, I would advise everyone to call them often, and not for healing. It really is just before you go to sleep, and at night you have your healing while you're sleeping. You really feel your auric field strengthening. So it's definitely recommendable in these times with ET invasion. Stay alive. Frequencies are anchored by living people. Keep your DNA intact. Take accelerated extension. So keep in mind, for those who are not following chaos and watching this interview, the reincarnation chances will be lowered extremely in the following years. So I think everyone must decide. But if there's one thing I would do is hook on to the fail-safe frequencies and do that workshop. And I would even do them all if I had to start over again immediately, because you'll have to reach a certain hosting out state in this life, because the reincarnation chances are they'll stop the reincarnation wheel eventually, or try to stop that. Let's say it this way. So maintain contact with like-minded people, and then are you going to hide when these things are getting seriously dangerous or not? I think everyone should decide it on his own. Depends from the country and the situation and how things evolve, you know. So keep in mind that every Christic who dies in a battle is less frequency anchoring. The war is on a frequency level. What can be a good thing is if you can work online to remain your income, your financials. Stay alert. And that's a story that I told you when I sent last year mails to people to trying to wake them up. What kind of rotten energies that got smashed in my auric field by them. And there will be, keep hope, there will be a tipping point. And so in the Christic ascension timeline, humanity eventually will wake up. And we're going ahead for rough times. And then I got enough experience to write a second book. So maybe in the following years I'll do that. But I'll give you the information now. I met for the first time in my life, Christopher, an angel. On consciousness layer 27, and that angel stayed commercially friendly. I don't know how to say it differently. You know, it's like you go to a tourist information center and they expose the earth as a huge playground, you know. An amusement park, you know, and you can get born there, you can try this, and born there, and then I was like, can you take the exit? And he said, like, the angel, oh, they don't ask that, you know. And I gave some rough answers. All of a sudden he stayed commercially friendly, and then I started to realize it's a hologram. They're holograms, just like the Asian would say. Yeah. So they don't have those emotions like, what are you asking here now? Shut up. They don't. They're programmed.
So it's like just a script that's reading something off to you as you're asking questions type thing?
Yeah, sort of. But they're very good holograms.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. They're good holograms.
Very good. Yeah. But it's because they have no human emotions.
Right.
I don't know. They stay peace, commercially friendly, and you can spit out all your frustration. They'll still laugh at you and be friendly. So that's how I noticed it's a hologram. Anyway, and I was standing there in that door, and here was the angel, the entry director, and they came with UFOs. Still in these times, bringing spirits that they motivated to have a joyride on the planet.
UFOs.
Yeah.
Because the UFOs have been described like, because we use our own Merkabah vehicles. So would you say that it's an extension of a Merkabah, or was this like a craft, or what?
It looked like a UFO taxi or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Transport vehicle, like a large one.
Yeah. And the spirits in it were completely innocent, and they were prepared to have an amusement time and to try it out. So they chose their locations that were proposed by the hologram angel, and then they were asked to gather somewhere here in that space, and it's an energy field, of course, and my consciousness makes of it like a room, you know, to make myself feel more comfortable. And then I saw that angel doing a movement like pulling over a handle, you know, pulling over a lever handle, or like you press a button, you know, and all of a sudden there was a crack in the ground where these spirits were standing, and I fell through it straight to the earth. They,
Oh, like a lever? Like pulling up a lever or something?
yeah, pulling up a lever. That's how you say it in English, indeed.
They just popped
Yeah.
up?
No, by pulling up the lever, it's the ground, which was actually an energy field, there all of a sudden there was a crack, like an earthquake in the ground, and
Oh my
they fell
God.
through it to the earth.
Wow.
So
What does that
yeah,
mean?
that's a joyride.
Okay. That's probably how we get here.
First experience on the earth.
Right.
So
Well, coming out of the canal, it's not always pleasant sometimes. It's all the
no.
needles and vaccines in little babies' feet, like we get poked and prodded.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Nowadays, I want to go over with these vaccines to people of 5 years old.
They probably want to add the COVID to the babies' vaccines and stuff too. Like just normalize it, you know. The
Yeah.
COVID vaccine.
Oh boy. Yeah, then another thing we were allowed to do at the Monroe's, it was the encounter with coordinating intelligence. So I met the Ubis again, the ones who hunted me here on the earth. There, all of a sudden was standing next to an Ubi again in the star heaven, and the earth was somewhere there in the distance. And same thing, like they did with Robert Monroe. He pointed to the earth. He said, "That's our garden there. We're harvesting there." That's something. You got the first instant, I thought it was the same. It's the same race, but I thought it was the same creature as I had encountered on the earth. But it's just another Ubi out there standing in front of a sort of a tentacle machine thing. I don't know what that was, but my consciousness translated it like that.
It's just openly
And-
saying that's where we harvest. It's,
Yeah, this is our garden.
oh my God,
Out
the
there,
dark
and we
gardens.
harvest it. Yeah, we are the creators. And I turned around and said, I've heard another story. And during his talk, and he flashed himself away. But so when you confront them, they get out. They were gone. So we talked about this artificial versus organic light, and with these distorted beings that light, I cannot describe it as that it's very mystical, magical light. Magical light. It's very attractive in the astral plane. All of a sudden, a colleague, someone who also participated in the Monroe course, she saw a row of people in consciousness layer 27, so soul collectives, and she saw them leaving, and I wanted to see it. So the exercise afterwards, I went in the astral plane to that person, said where are, and she pointed out, and then all of a sudden I saw them too. So I jumped to that row and asked, like, where are you going? And they said, like, there's a new location for us, and we're going to that new location. Now, no one was laughing, no one was joyful. It was more like they were in a hypnotic state. And I asked them, like, where did you hear this? Who told you this, that there's a new location? And they said, the one behind us. And then I went to the one behind us. He or she said there, and this one told me that. And I went, oh, totally till the end of the row. And at the end of the row, there was like one of the other AI creature walking.
Oh my God.
A zombie, and he was controlling the direction and empowering that frequency river that they followed.
This is
So
like the
it's like-
vaccine stuff right now.
Yeah, so the certain soul collectives are already in the astral plane leaving.
You've
It's
seen the
happening.
movie Soul, like where they're all marching to the white light. Also, you seen that movie?
Can't remember. I've just
It's a Disney
second, I haven't-
Pixar. It's animated. Soul.
That
So-
old movie?
No, it's a new one. It's Disney Pixar. It's like afterlife
haven't
movie
seen it.
where it shows what happens in the afterlife, and all these people all these souls are going towards the white light. You know, like this dull
Oh.
white light, It's
Oh
pixelated.
no, I didn't see it.
It's-
I didn't see it. Anyway, so and it's like with shepherds and sheep, and in the back you have the shepherd dog, and that was like the shepherd dog to me, so to speak, as a
oh
metaphor.
yeah,
But it was
yeah.
in a human form, and it had like horror eyes. There was something with his eyes that was not natural, and that was more like AI puppet. I don't know how to say it differently.
Ugh.
And here we come to that. I collect this version of myself, so I went further than layer 27, to layer 34 in Star Heaven, and then all of a sudden, as I projected myself with sending out like, are there versions of myself here that I still got stuck here, and all of a sudden they all popped up next to me, just at the Star Heaven, and I felt quite good. And there was one big blue bird with a flat dark beak, and it was a huge bird. I said, "Oh my God, have I been such a beautiful bird on another planet?" So somewhere, somehow, there's still parts of us there that, and I think now I know what the yogi and my soul collective from time to time is doing, collecting these parts of ourselves and bring them back to the soul level.
You identified it as you, as part of yourself.
Yeah, because I send it out in that astral plane. That comes to you what you send out. So
Okay.
it are parts for myself. We have parts there in these higher realms. In also in these phantom parts that are now healing because we are healing,
Yeah,
and they get
flame
in
body.
these healing frequencies through non-locality and bioresonance, because they are somehow related to our soul collective, oversoul, rishi, and avatar, and they pop up when you search for them in the astral. So in your soul, our souls do that too,
It was almost like we had a
collecting all
kind
of
of.
these versions of themselves.
It was
Should we
almost
do an
like a.
ascension together?
It was almost like a heads up, like with the shadow body material, to work directly with their shadow body in parallel. Because that was like back in the
Yeah.
early 2000s, and now there's all this infiltration that's coming from there. It's 2/3 of our
Yeah.
quantum.
Yeah, but I've also been thinking about, because I just told you today that I feel myself expanding in my auric field. I feel myself lifting up. But like the real OBE, I don't have that anymore with that light body. Is that now because I got a lot of my quantum, if not all, from the phantom matrix recollected in a big part? But the floating Buddhas also want me. I ask them also protection every time I do these things, expanded consciousness states. They also want me to be anchored in my body. But I'm just wondering sometimes, like I'm there, but at the same time I'm in my body. So did we now, by doing the techniques, collect most of our quantum out there? And is that still from our higher versions that is there? And that we now reach a level where the majority of a shadow body is got reversed and back integrated? I don't know.
Right. There's a lot of speculation with that, for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell, and it's very unique for everybody.
Yeah, I think also. Yeah, and then I also projected in all of a sudden to see, like, as the floating Buddhas and the Christics and the beloveds also, like, I want to meet fallen angelics and hear what their arguments are not to choose for ascension. And they project me. All of a sudden, I was standing there and I saw like a glass tubing. Now, it's just how my consciousness
Interprets or translates.
yeah, and among me, it felt like a tubing of technology or like a tunnel or something like that, and it became transparent. I could see through it, and I saw like things moving through it. It were spirits, but they looked like tadpoles, and it was sucked through it. So they were already harvesting spirits, and
It's probably what happens to our sperm, like after getting a vaccine or something. It just gets.
harvested. Boom.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the sperm of the unvaxxed people will become the next Bitcoin. Who knows? Huh?
Yeah. It's a lot of speculation there.
Anyway, so there was like a Draco kind of being standing there with some other hairy ET from the distorted side, and they were watching me like, oh, she's one of them, look at that. But it seems that they understood that I was not going to attack them, that I just wanted to see, and that as long as I didn't do anything, they wouldn't harm me, something like that. That was the situation, or the energy that I felt between me and them. And I asked them on a telepathic level, like, why are you not choosing for ascension? And I talked with the Draco, and he said, like, I've been so long from home. I wouldn't even remember how home feels like.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and he was not interested in it anymore now.
Do you think it's a capacity thing? Like they may not even have the capacity to take the plasma template and infuse it? Because that's our host right now, it's the plasma. So it's like, if they can't even, if there's damage beyond that point, then they literally can't. So they got to find peace and going back home to their home, you know?
Yeah, but you know, the white brotherhood on the astral, on the earth level, the beloved soul that was fallen, but on the astral level, the beloveds have succeeded on a certain level to help them, because they wanted to get back to an organic state, and they could never get totally organic again, but they could still heal till a certain level. And
yes. And that's like the Christ fall, right? That's where they're still taking the Christic approach, and instead of going out consuming other life forms, they're dying peacefully, you know, or just fading out.
But they never died. The Christics, they succeeded on a certain level still to get organic frequencies.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
On the astral plane,
from the Christ fall. So it's not a real fall then.
No. So maybe with these Dracos and reptilians, that still these kinds of things might also be possible.
There are Christ falls, so where they are falling, and they take a Christic approach.
Not all race groups, most don't. So that's my experience. So they're not interested. They don't remember how home felt like, because they're so long already in that distorted state. They're not interested in ascension. And, you know, all of a sudden I felt the Christics lifting up a sort of their presence, like as a sort of I'll call it a light from how to show them, like, you remember that with an image of sort of you could feel the original landscape. The Christics showed that in that conversation on the left side where I was standing. Yeah. And they saw it, the Draco saw it, and he said, they're always there. Your kind is always there. Every time we want to harvest, they're always there.
Oh my God.
And I don't care fucking shit. Yeah. And then also projected on someone, a figure, an ET, that Monroe describes in his book that he met, and that's a spirit who collects actually the energies that people irradiate during laughing with a joke. And I projected on it, had a very distorted nose, long nose, and it was a very thin humanoid creature. Don't ask me which race group, I have no idea. And I started to communicate on a telepathic level with him, like, what's this, how do you do that? And he showed me images, and then I go home, and then I swap it for other energy balls, and the others like it. I said, don't you have jokes in your world? And they don't have that. But they love the energy of a joke that we irradiate, but they don't have to. They don't love.
They don't get it. It's just like food or something.
They have no joy. They don't love. They're robots. They're artificial part. It's. They don't have those human emotions, and ask them like, why wouldn't you choose them for healing and for ascension? Because now what's going on the planet, the ascension frequencies are coming in. It's your chance. It's your chance. Now you can go for healing.
So do you think for
And
some it's not even a choice? It's a matter of capacity?
how do you mean capacity?
What they can hold, like in their templates, like what binds, what bonds, you know, for them to be able to catch the host or catch it
but
right
also,
out.
that might be one of the reasons, but also the fact they don't want. They're not interested in
They
it.
don't have the ability, maybe, some of them.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that if they ask the beloveds, they'll get appropriate help to
Okay.
get that solved. That
So there's
issue.
always help there that's available. They're just making a
Yes,
choice not to. Okay.
yes,
That
that's
makes
my
sense.
personal conclusion.
That's a level
And
of consciousness that I mean, code convolution, right? You can just take the copy of the copy of the copy and you lose the sense of the original connection that you had. And maybe don't
yeah,
even want it.
yeah. But you know, Aisha and the beloveds also say like even a fatally can ask 3 or 4 chances to re-evolve back to its original state. If they want to, they can get help.
Yeah.
So and
It's always
actually
there.
this planet and these times are it's perfect ground to get healed and to get solved out of that distorted state. It's their big chance and they don't want to take it. So
Ooh, that's
going back
deep.
to the joke collector, um, so I asked him also like why wouldn't you choose for it? And he said I can get it here, the energies. I can get it here. So he was actually stealing it. You know, I don't know how he tapped it off, but
Right.
he showed me sort of how he, as a vampire parasite, picks
And
it
even
from
if
the
being shown that they're stealing their life supply, they still make the choice, conscious choice, even being shown that.
What? Say it again.
So when you're saying this being said, I can get it here, right? So are they aware that they're stealing it and they're still making the choice that they're more comfortable stealing their life supply
Yes.
and staying there? They're still okay with it.
Yes. Yes. It's more like he had an attitude like, oh, I can just grasp it here and take it from someone else. The
Wow.
energy. Why would I do all that effort?
Yeah,
It's a
all the
heavy
effort.
effort to get re-evolved back.
And it could be a heavy effort too. It could be something not imaginable. I mean, we don't know their position where they're at.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen my
They
own
didn't
template that I'm
do
working
the-
on, and it can be frustrating. You know how much work you got to put into it. There's a lot.
Yeah. And he had something like, it's easier for me to steal it. So I want to there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a choice.
Yeah. So and then also I asked on the education center. I met a Tibetan monk. Now he got higher, of course, than the religious layer of 25, but he still was wearing his monk clothes, just like I'm keep wearing my Western clothes in the astral plane. And I asked him like, can I check from this expanded consciousness states if someone took the facts? And he said, yes, just blow into the auric field from this layer and see whether the aura expands. This is what I saw. Not facts versus facts.
You've done this before multiple times to see.
Yeah, with facts people that I know
Okay.
and with unvaxxed people. And some still have a part of the auric field.
Yeah.
And it's more or less some gone, but this full auric field, forget it.
Oh
Now,
my God.
yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking about some
The
of the people
frequency
I picked
decrease
up.
is very subtle, explained by the beloved. So for these fallen angelics, it's just a chop off. Huh? It's just chopping off the whole auric field.
Yeah.
So these consciousness layers in the auric field to let loose. Yeah. This won't be the case with everyone, huh? That is faxed. I'm quite
Right.
sure. And I also found out someone who's chaoser and who did take the vax out of pressure from his environment.
Yeah.
He didn't got disconnected, but he still got damaged in his auric field. So I'm quite sure with the floating Buddhas that can get healed. But people who are, let's call it the sleeping people, in this planet that I know and who got the facts, they really are damaged very hard. Will they ever realize how much injustice was done to them? I have no idea.
What was the other picture you just showed of the KSer that was vaxxed? Let me see. So what are those like siphons around the aura that are latched on or something? What is
So
that?
there were just ports out of it.
Oh, it's just
Like
blotched out.
shark teeth.
Right.
So that's how it looked. There were no attachments, so it was just parts of that auric field that
Something took
that-
hold on them.
that were gone. It's just like you take a piece of a cake, boom, out. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, you know what these children that they're now injecting. I've heard in Australia that military people are going to the villages of Aboriginals surrounding them and that they force jab these people.
What country?
Can you imagine what they're doing?
What
I
country?
really hope. So if any one of these people ever watches our interview, keep in mind that there will be rescue missions if you wanted to go for ascension, and I'm quite sure the beloveds can do that too. These rescue missions. Let me go on, and then we're gonna finish it because I want to go to sleep because I have to go.
Okay. Sorry, I've got so many questions. This is amazing. Amazing
We can
material,
do
Arrow. Thank
another
you.
interview
We've
later.
got a part 2.
No
Yep.
problem. It's almost 3 o'clock in the night here.
Okay.
So I went to that spiral split moment in 8-9 November 2023 in out-of-body state in the future. And what did I see? I saw some sort of black electric wires all of a sudden like going over the earth. Something like electricity, but then black energy. And all of a sudden I saw like a shadow kist that started to form itself in the earth. So that's probably the phantom earth. It starts to, that phantom part, you know, one earth is going into phantom fall of the quantum of the earth.
Yeah.
And it started to hook together as a kist in the earth. So it's another holographic reality field. And then I went to the ascension moment of the earth in the year 2900 after Christ. Robert Monroe described that ascension moment as a gathering. So all the group of participants on the Monroe Institute went there. It was a Shaolin monk, my Shaolin guide, who accompanied me with it. And I got flashed in like an arena, you know, the Roman gladiator stuff, you know, an arena where everyone is sitting on wooden banks, something like that. That's how my consciousness translated it. And in front of me, there were like other spirits sitting in groups. And in front of me, there was a group of spirits. They didn't notice me. And I wanted to let them know, like, I'm here. Can you shuffle a bit aside that I can see better? Because in the center of the arena, it wasn't star heaven. Huh? In the center, the earth was there. It was upright. It was flashing light, like, and it was turning around. These Merkaba fields was rotating enormously, and
It's like the coronasphere.
Yeah, probably.
Flickering or something.
Yeah, it was blinding light.
Wow.
And there was still humanity there. So even more than I had expected. But a serious less than what is now on the planet. But there was still humanity there, and some cities, and they were all in panic. And I was sitting there and think, oh my God, I've been so much effort for writing a book. Aisha and the Beloved, making interviews, Aisha and the Beloved, writing those books, giving all. But then I realized, oh yeah, the majority who go for ascension got or rescued or hosted out.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
because otherwise what's the use? But the people who are living at that moment, they're really in panic. Someone up, but the majority really is in panic. I saw even someone jumping from a bridge and committing suicide because it was So there was so much light, all that hologram was changing, and fluid light. And all these spirits, they were watching it, and all of a sudden, the earth flashed away. So probably from out of that phantom matrix into the plasma reality fields. And at the same time, that dark phantom earth kissed, that's how I saw it, plopped out of it and fell into the deep, into the star heaven, down in the middle of that arena. And I was looking a bit around, and on my right, you had like, in these Roman movies, you also have like the Kaiser sitting on a desk, watching the gladiators.
Yeah, this is armchair.
Yeah. So there was somewhere on the right that, like, it's called a Kaiser spot. Yeah? And I saw these beings sitting there, and I felt all of a sudden they detected me. The big general had detected me.
Right.
And I lifted up my hand, very innocent, and I said, bye, hello, but on a telepathic level. And then he really felt my energy. He turned around, I looked in his eye, man, so evil. One of the other general from the Zetas. So evil. I was shocked. You have no idea. Immediately, in a flash of a moment, the whole arena was gone, and I realized they were all sitting in crafts and UFOs, hidden in the rocks and these kinds of stuff. I was sitting in the back of a UFO from fallen angelics, who didn't realize I was there.
Oh my God.
In
their crafts, in their show.
In their craft. In their craft. And watching from their craft what was the ascension moment of the earth. Can you imagine? So I flashed myself directly back to my body. Fucking shit!
Right. Getting out of there.
Yeah, immediately.
In case some of your quantum gets stuck or something.
Yeah, in case they catch you or something like that.
Right.
So, and they all had like high-tech computers, and they were measuring up the whole event to see how much of a piece of the cake was for them.
Right. Zetas are up at the front of the row, sitting there.
Yeah.
So the Zetas, you're saying like a third in Phantom Fall Zetas?
Well, there was several fallen angelic groups there.
Okay.
As far as I noticed, but that guy that was Zeta, the general. So
something that's been coming up. I got to share this because you specifically said Zetas there, and I don't know if it was Voyagers 1 or 2, but she talks about a Zeta ruled society in the future that they were trying to splice our timeline into, where it was like all martial law and everything. But the Zetas had like first dibs on something, I think it might have been Voyagers 1. It was like, seems like it was in 1. It was older.
Well, I remember that she said on parallel Earth that got fallen got in the hands of the Zetas too.
Right. So all the Montauk and the time rip stuff was orchestrated by them too. So it would make sense they would be right there, probably facilitating for the big guys, the Dracos and stuff.
Yeah, well, so it was a very some people came back from that journey and really were crying because they were so shocked of the evil creatures and had ended up, of course, in UFOs, and that their higher self lifted up a bit of that protection field so that they would realize where they were and who was watching that ascension moment eventually in the end. And
other people saw this? You said other people saw this with you while you were seeing it?
Yeah, we were with the whole group that we went there in the astral plane. All the participants of that TMI course. But for some it was really shocking moments. And
so you guys all had you had the same recall? Like you came out of it and had the same recall? What you saw?
Detected. I saw the most of it, I guess. But some others also detected a lot of things like the computer stuff. Then I went back to that. Oh, that's not the computer
Pieced
stuff.
Pieced it together, kind of.
Yeah, pieced it together. But some people really were shocked about how evil, watching these eyes, they're soulless. They're so damned evil, distorted, and it's a shock for some people who got confronted with it. So it's not a safe moment, but I believe it. We Christics, we were sitting there in their UFOs while we didn't notice them. Actually, looking back at it at that moment, that I so innocent. Hello, lifting up my arm. Hello. Oh, he could just pull my head out of my body,
Oh my God.
Oh,
It's by the
God,
seat of your
yeah.
pants on, just poof, flying out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so, oh well, that's something we know now too. But yeah, that's how my consciousness perceived that whole event.
Sounds about right, really. It's like peeking at the end of the book or something.
Yeah, 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 sort of. So, that was the end.
I see it also like Battlestar Galactica reference that she's made at some workshops here and there. Like that it's kind of like Star Trek where they're looking for life, and they're already kind of doing that. But they build like crafts to go out and explore the fall systems and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. Gary Cassidy from Project Camelot, she also uses often that terminology in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's how I always kind of saw it, like the remnants, maybe, because who would be left? Maybe the Illuminati families, or don't know who would be left
hmm.
once that
Well,
probably
you
goes
have
back to
to speak
capacity.
different timelines, huh?
Yeah, the timelines. It gets speculatory.
Yeah. What I saw was that they're pulling spirits to their worlds. Maybe it was to the parallel Earth who fell in their phantom matrix and that they pulled into a black hole or something like that. I got a feeling like that. So, yeah.
What a ride,
But you
man.
know,
That's
what I also realized, like the spirits, those who go eventually into phantom fall in the end, they'll arrive there and their memory will be erased.
yeah. It's nothing.
There's mercy in that one. There's mercy in that one, because if you end there with full consciousness, that's worse.
That's a lot worse. Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a good place to end it. That was quite a ride there. Wow, I was getting like visuals while you were talking. The Zeta hand coming at you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was directly back in my body. Trust me, I went directly back. Oh, I'm here. So I didn't expect it, totally did, but he had felt me all of a sudden in my energy field, and I noticed that he had felt me. I lifted up my arm. He looked at me. I saw his eyes, and said, "Oh my God."
There's a couple of quick comments I just want to bring up here. Liz says that they want pole shift because they like it cold. I don't know what faction she's referring to. Maybe that's an agenda they're trying to pull off.
Sure.
Also, Lisa says, I don't feel the fallen ones can reincarnate here anymore.
Yeah, some years ago, the Dalai Lama also said, "I'll never reincarnate," probably, but he projected it to the conflict with the Chinese. There's several people who will never return to this planet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the frequencies, they're not able to.
Yeah, that they can't sustain here anymore. Yeah, in the Christic timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, we got part 2 coming up soon. Jeez.
Part 2. Yeah, no, I still didn't have chance to talk about other stuff like that we wanted to talk about. We've been talking already. How long is this interview? Long enough? 3 hours?
It's 3+ hours, what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Too long.
It's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. I got to get the book from when Ian finishes it. We got to get it.
Okay. Do that. Okay, it's good.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna leave you. Gonna
Yeah.
smoke a cigarette, and then I go to bed.
Okay.
It's cold here in the glass house. I moved to the glass house. Meanwhile,
Oh.
my battery was low, so I'm gonna
Take care of
sleep like that.
Sasquatch there too.
Yeah. I'll send you also for the interview some links.
Okay.
that you
Yeah, we
want
got to
to
add those
refer
in the description for sure. All right.
Good.
Get some rest. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye bye. Thanks for all the ones who watched this interview. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution. We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution.
The revolution won't be televised. Government been telling lies. If you're not with us, you better step aside. Witnessing a genocide. Everything is centralized. The food that we consuming, they spraying it out with pesticides. Easily identify the sheep and the snake, the real and the fake, giving us a reason to pray. I'ma make my own choices. A voice for the voiceless. They trying to destroy us, avoiding the poison. It's all pointless if you don't have a purpose. If you read the verses, you'll know who we versing. Government can't tell you what your worth is. Look deeper than the surface. They don't even want you researching or asking questions. We all being tested. Shh. Shut your mouth, they comply, that's the message. Want you depressed on prescriptions that mess with your head. Got you stressing, suppressing expression.
We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution. We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution.
Keep the money, I would rather have my soul. They want power and control, that's their number one goal. All my friends turn to foes, look how easily they fold. Even Nazis say they were doing what they told. Walking down this road all alone in the cold, but my soul never sold. I'm exposing the clones, God has chosen this role. All of those who oppose want me hopeless and broke, like I'm Noah on boats. I'm just trying to tell them all about the flood. I can feel it in my bones, I can feel it in my blood. Man, I came up out the mud, only God is my judge. I don't listen to these politicians, they the real thugs. Won't comply with the lies, they disguise it as science. They want you compliant, the media's bias. These corporate giants are capitalizing on us by dividing, but I'll keep on fighting.
We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution. They're trying to dumb us down. Don't want us to make it sound. We gotta get out of now, 'cause it's a revolution. We will not comply with the institution's sick illusion. No, we won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution.
These interviews in no way reflect the views of Arrayas Productions.